to wish. Time to put your best NFL offseason wish list for your team together. I know we're not quite to the NFL offseason yet, Diesel, but hey, just a couple of games away and the offseason will be here as the AFC and NFC championships are this weekend. But I posed the question on our Facebook page earlier today to you Tolos out there. What is your wish list for this offseason for your NFL team? You can text the show 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Phone lines are also open at that same number as well. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He is Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. You can watch the show. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Hop in the comments section there, and let's get the conversation going. Diesel, do you remember the movie Elf? I know Christmas has passed us by, but do you remember where the scene where the son of Buddy's dad was reading the naughty and nice list on national TV, right? They claimed they had found the book
really?
with the naughty names, the nice names. So that's where my mind went with this segment in terms of what's on your wish list. And this is the clip I was referencing.
Do you see something in the everyone out there? Santa needs us to believe I can prove he's real. Look, this is his list.
Okay, well, further confirmation that there has been a Santa sighting tonight. We have the naughty and nice list.
Then Kessler wants a Powerpuff Girls playset. McWeber wants an electric guitar. Yes. Carolyn Reynolds wants a Susie Talks a Lot.
Thanks, buddy.
Dirk Lawson wants a Dave Pampering and Bert Williams Spa. Stand by. Powerpuff Water.
Must be another Dirk Lawson.
Dave Kemper wants some Nike socks.
Okay.
So now it's your turn. I posed this question on our Facebook page as well at the Fan Upstate Diesel, where Steven says his wish is for Jerry Jones to go away in the offseason. Donald says his wish is for the Bills to get big defensive tackles and address the secondary. Edward wants to win the press conference. I don't know who his team is. And Joshua wants David Tepper to go away.
That's interesting, Cole. You could have also given me the opportunity to rub my lamp and have the genie come out and offer me three wishes. Three things that I really want for the Carolina Panthers. Well, number one, they had an awful defense. So they're going to need an elite edge rusher, somebody that can add some youth to that position. No disrespect to Jadeveon Clowney, but he's old AF, right? They need somebody who can do it. I mean, Jadeveon has a lot of experience, but when you're predicated on a strength and quickness position where using your head isn't as much of a factor as being a wide receiver or being a quarterback, Carolina needs a new, young, elite edge rusher. That has got to be number one on the list. Number two, they need a long, quick pass catcher that can stretch the field, somebody that can add an additional threat. I mean, Adam Thielen's getting super old, right? And they don't even have him do that as much anymore. Sure, Xavier Legette had a decent first year in the NFL. We'll look and see if he develops, right? He was great in college when he could manhandle and bully a lot of dudes, but he can't do that in the NFL. And you look around the league and look at some of the guys like Xavier Worthy, guys that came out of college just last year who are tearing it up in the NFL. They got to have a pass catcher that can stretch the field. I'm talking a guy that's 6'2", 6'3", or taller. It's difficult to get. But then again, you're picking inside the top 10. Yeah, you're picking inside the top 10. You can have the pick of the litter, whoever you want. And then, of course, Cole, they're going to need somebody else who can help out with some pass protection because Bryce Young still took a lot of hits behind the line of scrimmage this year.
So, Tolos, here's what we need from you. We need your NFL team, first of all, so we know who you're talking about, because just like on Facebook, Edward said, hey, we got to win the press conference. But Edward didn't say who his team was. So, Tolos, let us know. That's where we're going in this very first segment. I'll give mine for the Cowboys as well. And I also want to get back into yours, Diesel, with the Panthers, because I would imagine that, here in the upstate, a lot of our Tolos will also be providing a wish list for their Carolina Panthers. But we need the name of your team and what your wish list is for this NFL offseason. Let us know on the text line 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Also live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, as I mentioned a few moments ago. Let's go right back into the Panthers, though, Diesel, and start there. Do you feel like, and this is interesting, the three things that you put, an edge rusher, a wide receiver, which I agree with, and protection for Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
You have free agency to address these things, but do you feel like for you as a Panther fan and any other Tolos out there who also pull for the Carolina Panther, do you feel like that there's one of those three that without a shadow of a doubt has to be addressed with your first draft pick?
Edge rusher.
Edge rusher, defense?
Defense has to be addressed. You got to go defense early. I know that they're looking at a handful of guys out of Penn State and Georgia, couple of options there to really get young at some of those positions. Cole, this is going to be a team that, it's a 3 or 4 year rebuild. So, you get these guys in now, you let them build some chemistry, and then 3-4 years from now, you're talking about a veteran team, a bunch of guys that have been in the league for 5 years or so, who have all played together for a very, very long time on a team that's up and coming. So maybe not all of them are going to be wanting a big time payday or feeling like they are owed it at this point of their careers. Give me a young pass rusher. That's got to be the guy.
No, I'm with you. I think you go edge in the draft. And is it 8th the Panthers have? Is that right?
I believe you're right.
8th overall pick. You probably, like every organization, Diesel wants the number one guy. They want the number one pick so you can, or let's even call it top 3. You want to be able to have your choice at the best. However, I don't necessarily think 8's the worst place to be because you know what? Diesel, 2 or 3 teams are going to take quarterbacks.
Yep.
They're going to chase those stars. And guess what? They might not even hit.
Well, you don't need quarterbacks. So now effectively you're in 5th.
So that's right, because you take those 3 out.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have the 5th overall pick. You're right, minus the quarterbacks, which then again, the way the draft works, I don't know why I feel this way, but Diesel, it's almost like the lower you are in that top 10, the less risk there is. Because, these teams that take those high draft picks, the 3s, the 4s, the 5, sometimes they hit, but sometimes they don't, and they're bust. I mean, Caleb Williams, look what, we talked about that. So maybe the Panthers are in a pretty good spot.
There's like a little hype stretch in the NFL draft, right? It's usually between 3 and 7 guys that somehow, some way, all of the Mel Kiper conversation, all of the Matt Berry conversation has hyped these guys up as if they're better than they actually are. And so the prevailing thought is we've got to go get that guy before somebody else does. And so you get teams that end up reaching on players in that 3 to 7 range.
I'll tell you what I think it is. And I'm going to get to a text in just a couple of seconds. If you just tuned into Wire to Wire, he's Diesel, I'm Cole Bryson. We're going through what your NFL offseason wish list would be. Let us know on the text line, 844-FAN phone Diesel. I think to your point about missing, you have the Mel Kipers of the world. I used to really pay attention and really try to make myself smarter by watching the combine. But you know what? As I've gotten older, I don't think there's a more useless event than the NFL combine. I think people's put so much stock into what this guy runs or what this guy does at the combine. I don't think people truly understand that the combine isn't a true representation, Diesel, of what a player will be in the NFL. And I think that's where it gets overblown. I think that's where it gets overvalued is in a few months, you and I are going to watch this TV and we're going to talk, hey, did you see what that guy did at the combine? His hands are like, mitts. He has all these great traits, but it doesn't equal success. And how much do we talk about situation mattering as well? I think the Carolina Panthers having the 8th pick I agree with you, they have to go defense, and they have to address, I would say, probably defense with not just the first, but maybe the first 2 picks in the NFL draft.
You might be right. I look at it like this, Cole. There's like I said, that range of guys that get taken early. Those are the guys who, if we put this in musical terms, they're great in studio when they can do a solo or a drum fill or whatever over and over and over again until they get it exactly right.
Yeah.
Anybody can sound good in a studio when you got producers setting things up for you to sound as good as possible. Then they go out live, they can't play it live.
Sure.
Right? So give me the live film tape. I think you learn so much more about these guys in film study than you can via the combine.
Texter from the 696. Text in at 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Tolos, we need to hear from you. Also, want to remind you, Tolos, that today's Thursday. You know what that means. 5 o'clock, it's your chance to take over. Tolo Takeover today at 5 p.m. Looking forward to that. That's right. Thank you. That was pretty good, by the way. Texter from the 696 says, Cincinnati Bengals is his team. Draft Jeanty, cap space, sleeper linebacker. I don't want you as the Bengals to draft Ashton Jeanty. I, as a miserable Dallas Cowboy fan, I want Ashton Jeanty. Do you hate Ashton Jeanty that much, Cole, that you want him to flounder and ruin his career playing in Dallas? No, but I like to have high hopes. And
if you love something, Cole, set it free. Let another team have him and actually use him effectively.
I don't know, man. Ashton Jeanty's going to be picked high, right? He's going to be picked high. Let's see where the latest mock had him going. The Bengals, I don't know if he'll fall that far, man. Running back, how you value them in the draft is interesting. I don't know. This can't be right. I want you to hear this. This ESPN mock draft, we touched on this a couple of weeks ago, Diesel, from Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper has Ashton Jeanty falling to 20th to the Denver Broncos. 20! Does Ashton Jeanty fall that far?
If that happens, Cole, God, the NFL GMs, every GM that passes on him should be fired, because this will be one of those situations where a really good player gets undervalued by the wrong person. Groupthink takes over. They are not picked up by anybody, and they fall all the way down to a point of the draft where you can put a really good player on a pretty good team that makes them a really good team.
I just don't know about falling to 20th. For Ashton Jeanty, according to Mel Kiper, falling to 20th in the NFL draft to the Denver Broncos. Look, I think it'd be a great pick for the Broncos, but the fall to 20th, I don't know. They even have Mel Kiper has Nick Emmanwori out of South Carolina going ahead of Ashton Jeanty. And I'm not saying Nick Emmanwori's not good. He might have a really good pro career, but goodness gracious, that's a little bit of a stretch. So a Bengals fan chiming in, wanting Ashton Jeanty. Texter Diesel says his team 978. This is not me, by the way. Is that the Cowboys' his wish is for Jerry Jones to step back, realize he needs to hire a football GM to run the team, draft, and free agency. A plus would be to hire a football coach and let him go.
Well, you can stop right there, because that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. I have a Dallas Cowboys wish list, though, Texter. Because I know, we have a lot of Cowboys fans in the upstate. They're everywhere. They're miserable everywhere, Diesel. My wish list would be, if you're not going to get Deion, if the Deion sweepstakes are over, hire Kellen Moore whenever the Eagles lose. If they go on to win the Super Bowl, wait till they, win the Super Bowl or lose Sunday to the Commanders. Hire Kellen Moore, because he is an offensive-minded guy. And I like the offensive-minded guys like the Kyle Shanahans, like the Sean McVays, who have proven that they can put up points and really dominate games. I want to hire more if Deion's out. I want to draft Ashton Jeanty for my Cowboys, not your Bengals, Texter. And then I want to address linebacker and free agency. I'm tired of going and getting these young guys that may hit, that may not hit. I want someone who's proven that can come in and provide a little experience on the defense. We haven't had that in a while. So that would be my Cowboys wish list for the offseason.
Almighty Finesse on YouTube, watching the stream live on YouTube right now. He says his wish list is for the Giants to draft Shedeur Sanders. Well, as of right now, this is sitting on ESPN.com. This is, who is this? Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft. He does have the Giants taking Shedeur at number 3. He has Tennessee going Cam Ward at 1, Cleveland number 2, taking Travis Hunter out of Colorado. Number 3, the New York Giants taking Shedeur Sanders. Do you think Shedeur almighty finesse. I'm asking you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think Shedeur is mature enough to be in New York City? Right? There was those stories about Shedeur Sanders renting out a strip club and partying with his team before their bowl game. And then, they famously lost that bowl game. Looked terrible in that bowl game. Is a guy that can lose focus right there before the very last game. Are you concerned of him coming to New York City?
I know those mocks don't always hit, Diesel, but I do think that 1-2-3 will hit. I do think Titans go Cam Ward, and then Cleveland, you kind of have to go best player available, which is Travis Hunter. And then I do think Shedeur goes to New York. So I think after you get or after you go through 1, 2, and 3, maybe Abdul Carter and Mason Graham and those guys kind of start to get mixed in. But I think predicting 1, 2, 3, and we'll talk about this a ton more as April, the draft will be in April. But I think you can bank on those 1, 2, 3s right now.
For what it's worth, Mel Kiper at 8 right now has the Carolina Panthers going Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. The conversation obviously has been all about Abdul Carter. He's got the Patriots picking up Abdul Carter at number 4. Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan, to the Jags at number 5. Number 6, Tatario McMillan. That's a hard one to say. Wide receiver out of Arizona. He's got him going number 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders. 7, the Jets taking Mykel Williams out of Georgia. And 8, Jalen Walker, linebacker, also out of Georgia. Look, Carolina was terrible once players got into the second level of defense this year. They need linebackers too. I would certainly love for them to go get a great edge rusher, but an elite level linebacker would be huge for the Carolina Panthers as well. You got to have a run stopper back there in the backfield.
I think it'd be a good pick. Listen, a Georgia linebacker, picking a Georgia linebacker early in the draft, it doesn't matter what the name is or who the name is of the player, Diesel. Just telling everybody, hey, we want a Georgia linebacker. It's probably going to work out, right? It's probably going to be a good pick. Texter from the 441 says, the NFL Combine caused the Packers to draft Tony Mandarich at number 2 in 1989. Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, and Deion Sanders were 3, 4, and 5 in that draft. So that's a good point, Texter, about the Combine. I'm telling you, it's so overrated. It's so, I'm not going to say like just completely useless and pointless, but we put way too much stock into what a guy does in the Combine. What do you about this? Diesel Texter from the 696 says Ginty allows Higgins to go to the Panthers. What do you mean by that, Texter?
2 different positions. What do you mean here?
Ginty being drafted? Is that what you meant? I don't know. I don't know what you mean there. Allows Higgins to go. Look, I think if I were a Carolina Panther fan, that would be my ultimate wish list. Is draft aside, go get T. Higgins.
How long do you think you could get and keep T. Higgins? Right? Like, how long do you think you can afford T. Higgins? They don't have a lot of money. Right? They don't have a lot of money in free agency.
Yeah.
Certainly you could, I guess you could go all in and get T. Higgins and kind of not be able to afford really anybody else outside of that. But really, what good does that do for you? Does T. Higgins suddenly win you 6 more games and get you into the playoffs? I don't think so. I mean, he's probably worth minimum 3 more wins on this team, but 6 wins in the playoff, that's a stretch.
Well, I don't know that anybody gets you 6,
right.
Regardless of who it is. If it's Patrick Mahomes, I think I've gone back and forth on the T. Higgins to Carolina. I hear what you're saying. They don't have the most money this year, Diesel. I think they'd have a lot more next offseason.
It starts to grow.
But then T. Higgins is gone. T. Higgins is signed in another city. I see both sides because, like, part of me, if I were a Carolina Panther fan, I would love to have that kind of game breaker and be able to have guys like Xavier Legette back there as a very valuable 2 or 3 and be able to put somebody like T. Higgins with Bryce. And I understand, though, on the flip side, that he would cost a lot of money and might tie you up. So it's a tough spot to be. Ultimately, I don't think it happens, but it'd be a great wish list to get T. Higgins in Charlotte.
T. Higgins' salary in 2024 was just shy of $22 million.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
Guess how much the Carolina Panthers have available in cap space this year?
23.
$21.3
not
million
much,
dollars. So he would have to be willing to take $500,000 pay cut, and that would wipe out everything Carolina has when it comes to cap space this year. Now, when you get into next year, that money starts to grow. They get up to $150 million next year. 2027, they're going to get up to $222 million of available cap space. So
it'd be a risk,
I
Diesel.
don't know that T is, unless you can sign T to a 3 to 4 year deal.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about maybe being able to make it, restructuring it.
Be interesting though.
When we come back, Cole, the ratings were way down for the national championship game this year. We'll try to figure out why. And is it really even that big a deal how far the ratings were down? We'll talk about that next, right here on the Fan Upstate. Mountain or molehill? Molehill? Mountain or molehill?
Say it like you from
Mountain or
South
molehill?
Carolina, do.
National championship ratings, Cole, were down almost 10% from last year's championship game between Michigan and Washington. Only 90% of the audience who watched Michigan and Washington wanted to watch Ohio State Notre Dame. Is this a big deal or not to lose 10% of your audience in a title game of the first year of the 12-team playoff?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question because that's what we do on Wire to Wire. We ask those kind of good questions. Let me start by telling you I'm shocked. I'm shocked with it being Ohio State and Michigan that ratings were down. Ohio State and Michigan. Do you know Ohio State and Michigan just played for the net?
Really?
What an idiot. What an idiot.
You ask Michigan fans, they just claimed
they did
title.
beat them. That's true.
Transitive property.
Sorry. Ohio State in the national championship, even though Michigan won. I thought with Ohio State and Notre Dame, those two blue blood brands, I thought the ratings, I wouldn't be shocked if I were sitting here today and you walked in here and told me the ratings were up 4% from last year.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's also supposed to be the culmination of the most exciting playoff we've ever had, right? Of more teams, 3 times as many teams getting into this thing. We got fan bases from all over the country that have a stake in this thing.
Okay, so again, remind me, 22.1 million average viewers is what we had this year. Boy, that it is shocking, and that was down 9%. So
9%.
9%, like let's start with that. 9%'s 9%. 9%'s not a tiny 0.9%.
Trust me. Ask any CEO, financial officer, somebody who tracks sales for a major company. If sales go down 9%,
Big.
When you're talking about multi-million-dollar businesses like this, yeah, that's huge. That's huge, a 10% drop-off.
It is. And that's why I was surprised when I saw that 9 that you had on there. Again, I don't know. Here's where I struggle when it comes to TV conversations in general. If we're talking about college football, NBA, or professional football, or freaking darts, I struggle, Diesel, with knowing where the line is with actual ratings dropping off compared to pay TV, the erosion of the old TV system that we all were used to, and all of these numbers being based off of that. What I'm getting at is I hear all these ratings being down, but is it like are there less viewers or are there less TVs plugged into the wall? That's where I struggle. I do find it surprising if you told me there were less people watching the national championship this year compared to others, simply for the fact of the two brands being Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Yeah, and the question is, why were ratings so high a year ago for Michigan, Washington? I mean, to me, as just a fan of the sport in general, right? Like I love my team, I love football in the Southeast, but to a general fan, is there really a difference between Michigan, Washington, and Ohio State, Notre Dame? I would argue, Cole, that this should have been a more compelling national championship game. If you had told me that ratings went up 9%, I'd say, wow, that's awesome. Of course, it makes total sense. Ohio State, massive brand. Michigan fans hate them. Everybody all over the Big Ten absolutely hates them. They want to tune in to watch them lose. And Notre Dame, that's one of the biggest brands in college football. They got a movie made about them. For God's sake, Sean Astin was in it. Bob from Stranger Things was in that movie. It just seems like this year the ratings should have gone up. Now, this particular source, Cole, doesn't break down the difference in streaming numbers versus traditional television numbers.
I've got some. Here's what's interesting. Let's go back to 2015, which is 10 years ago from the Ohio State-Oregon game in 2015 to the Notre Dame-Ohio State game. So we're going back in time 10 years.
Okay.
10 years ago, there were 100 million households that were subscribed to a cable, satellite, telco TV service, as the bundle was taken up by 86% of all the U.S. TV homes. As of last fall, when college football season started, Diesel, the tally of bundled subs was down to 48.2 million.
Ooh.
Okay, so in 10 years, you went from over 100 million to 48.2 million. And again, 48.2 is still a lot, but that's an over 50% decrease in a 10-year span, which is just 40% penetration. And you're talking about penetration of over 50% being taken out of the average viewer's home. I understand that viewership may be down, but again, I just think that when we talk about ratings being down in sports in general, I think so much of it has to do with that right there and people just not having the plug in the wall anymore.
Well, do we believe, Cole, now if these numbers, this 22.1 million average viewers that they're talking about for this year's national championship game are true, I don't know if they're specifically talking about traditional cable television subscribers and viewers.
That's right.
Because then you're telling me half of the 48 million, roughly half of the 48 million people who still have cable watch this game, and I'm calling BS on that, right?
I know, me too.
So to me, this has to be a combination of multiple sources, whether it's, streaming and all the YouTube TV, Roku, and all the different ways that people consume streaming content these days. Maybe the numbers are just incomplete. It's hard to tell. Now, Cole, it does say here that this was the most watched non-NFL sports broadcast since last year's national championship game.
Non-NFL.
So college football didn't lose any ground. They didn't drop down the list anywhere.
Sure.
They were still the number one non-NFL broadcast, which is great. The ratings across this thing were massive, right? The Cotton Bowl was the most watched Cotton Bowl on record. The Orange Bowl was the second most watched Orange Bowl in the past 20 years. Ratings were up for a majority of this thing, especially once you got down into the semifinals. Now, outside of that, Cole, it's a little bit of a different story because the first two of the first round games were slated directly against NFL games. They drew some pretty low viewership numbers, but I'm not really sure you can count those because a lot of people will just look at it and say, it's play-in game. It's playing game. Why do I want to pay attention to a playing game? And I'm like you and me and JD and Madcraft and Tiger Stripes Media. We're all going to tune in and watch all of them regardless. But the real difference is how do you get the casuals? Can you get the casuals to tune in and watch?
Sure.
Was it SMU Penn State, for example?
Yeah.
They may tune in and say, blow up. I'm not watching this. I'll watch next week when it's Penn State Notre Dame.
I'll tell you what, these numbers are so fascinating as you look back on the history of television, dating all the way back to, I say dating all the way back. This sounds crazy, but I'm going to say it. Dating all the way back to 2006. I mean, 2006 didn't seem like that long ago, but I'm going to say it anyways. Diesel, 2006. Do you know what's significant?
Were you even born yet?
I was. Of course, I was born.
Okay.
I was in double digits by then. Thank you very much. Now, do you know what's significant about 2006? When it pertains to numbers and television numbers, television ratings.
App State won its second straight national championship.
Oh, I like that. That's a good answer.
That did happen in 2006.
That's a good
By the
answer.
way, I did see there was somebody put together an infographic to explain that App State actually won this year's national championship because App State beat somebody, they beat somebody, they beat somebody, they beat somebody, and that team beat Ohio State.
No kidding. Was it NIU or maybe I don't know? No, NIU beat Notre Dame. Here's what's interesting about 2006. The Rose Bowl between Texas and USC, which was probably one of my favorite games to think back about watching Diesel, between Vince Young and Reggie Bush. And that game, still to date, the 2006 Rose Bowl between Texas and USC still remains the most watched college football contest on record, as it was 41-38. It averaged 35.6 million views. 35.6 million. Now, we're also seeing a ratings dip in the NFL as well. And again, I go back to, are less people actually watching, or does it have to do with these numbers? Because the NFL, usually in the postseason, I mean, they're the king of the world. They still are. But you look at the NFL divisional rounds, down a 2% dip. Not a ton, but still, they're down. I thought with Ohio State being as perennial as Ohio State is, that the rich kids would watch. I thought that Ohio State would draw more numbers Like I said, I wouldn't have been surprised if you'd have told me that this one had, a 4% increase. I just think there's a lot to be said about how people are viewing and consuming sports. And sports, probably other than news, Diesel's the only thing that people actually watch on television.
Yeah, you have to watch it live. If
what else do you watch live?
You're catching highlights. You're watching.
Do you watch
YouTube
anything
clips.
else live?
Not really, no.
I don't.
I think the last thing I tuned in to watch live was probably the last season of Breaking Bad.
See, I can't even tell you what the last thing I watched live was besides a sporting event.
I tuned in to watch Breaking Bad live, and the last season of The Walking Dead live. Actually, no, not even the last season. It'd be like third from the last season because I stopped caring about that show after a while.
Texter says, don't forget to say y'all's reason as to why it's down. Texter, I said a minute ago, I think it has more to do with the plugs not being in the walls. I don't think right now that the NFL viewership, I feel like right now in 2025, the NFL is just doing as good as getting people to watch as they have in maybe the past decade or two. The NFL's in a really good spot with the young quarterbacks. The game seems to be in a really good spot, Diesel, and I truly don't think less people are watching college football. I don't think so. I think people are viewing it and consuming it differently.
Here's a good reason I think for you that really matters. If I'm not watching live television, I'm not really consuming a ton of advertising, right? I'm not sitting watching commercial breaks. I'm not glued to a show for an hour and not getting up. So I'm not getting the ad. If I'm just a general everyday kind of into it sports fan, like I'm tuning in to watch Young Sheldon on ABC or whatever channel that's on.
Sure.
I'm not getting ads for the national championship game during that, right? So if all I'm consuming is sports content through ESPN.com, I'm already a diehard fan of the game. They don't have to advertise to me. They're already going to get me. But if I'm a casual, how are they going to get me to tune in and watch? Like most casuals, they don't have a clue who Will Howard is. They don't have a clue who Jeremiah Smith is.
Sure.
They don't really know anything about Ryan Day and the pressure that he faces as a coach at Ohio State. I mean, you tune into most anything else, Cole. Like, for example, Ashley and I are going back and watching Yellowstone right now. I know you think it's a waste of time, and I kind of think it's a waste of time too. I'm not really that into it, but she is, so we're going to watch it.
You go.
Like tune in, watch that on streaming, and they do ad breaks constantly for like wrestling.
Yeah.
And there are other shows that they have on that network. So I now know about those shows and when those things are coming up. But if I'm a casual, I'm not consuming a lot of that advertising content.
And I also think casuals consume it in ways that can't be measured through TV ratings. I think casuals, if you're at the gym working out, you can consume it, right? There might be 19 people watching it. I don't know.
We are also all getting very savvy, Cole, on how to skip and not watch advertising. Sure. Right? Like how many you scroll down Twitter or TikTok or Instagram or whatever, you're bombarded with ads constantly. You cannot get away from them.
Yeah.
Right. And it's to the point where like they realize this. So if they're smart, they embed them into something else. If they're not, they just put it there as a post on Instagram. You scroll down, bam, there's an ad. Ah, crap. Flick past that. Three more people. Oh, crap, another ad. Flick past that. So we're all getting really good at ditching the advertising. So I think they're putting a lot of effort into advertising to some people. They're just not seeing it.
It's so interesting. I love the conversation because numbers are numbers. However, I think you also have to be very careful of remembering that numbers don't mean everything. Like you go look at the Nielsen ratings for what we do for TV and radio ads, for TV and radio ratings. In the GSP market, guess who's number 2 in the GSP market? That'd be us. In the past 3 months, we're number 2 in the GSP market. Does that mean we're number 2? Or does that mean that our viewership, we could be number 1 and our viewers are consuming you and I in a different way that can't be measured? I think the measurables are good, but I just think at the end of the day, there's so many ways to consume content now. YouTube, TikTok. I watch a lot of my sports on TikTok. I really do. And it sounds crazy, but they're there, so I watch them.
Well, you watch 3-second clips of it because you have no attention span.
That's also true. Well, that's also – all right, Diesel, in the very next segment, the highest graded quarterbacks from the 2024 college football season, according to Pro Football Focus. Can you guess who number one was? We'll get into that next. Floyd on the text line says it was only on ESPN, added on ABC for free TV. Also, it was up against Inauguration Day. I don't know. I thought about that. I don't know how much that.
Yeah, but
weighed
Inauguration Day was during the day. This was at night.
That's right. And I think most of the people who watched the inauguration probably weren't watching at 8 o'clock. Unless they're just CNN or Fox diehards.
Are you telling me that diehard sports fans said, "Nah, we're not going to watch the national championship game. So. We want to watch the tail end of a ceremony that started at noon today"?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm not buying that.
I don't think so.
I'm not buying it.
Again, it's a great conversation, though. Diesel, the 2024 college football season, PFF released their highest graded quarterbacks. Tell me if you think there is an issue with what Pro Football Focus, who for the most part, I respect their rankings and ratings. I do like their weekly grades that they give. You want to guess, Tolos? Let's see. Mike Main said Arch is going to be number one. Arch can't be number one. He didn't play hardly. He didn't play enough. Highest graded quarterbacks from the 2024 season, Tolos. Should be an easy guess here. It should be. You can text the show 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. But Cam Ward, Diesel, came in at number one.
Can you only imagine if he had a defense?
Only if he had a defense. They're probably national champions, right?
They'd be undefeated right now.
Played Ohio State in the national champion. Oh, sorry, Matt Kraft. Cam Ward came in at with a 92.6 PFF grade for the college football season, which is pretty good. It's actually remarkable when you look at other seasons and where other quarterbacks came in terms of the PFF rankings. The quarterbacks that followed Cam Ward: Jackson Dart, Kyle McCord, Shedeur Sanders 4, Cade Klubnik 5, with a PFF ranking of 89.3.
Could you imagine if he had a defense?
I know, it'd be different. Sam Levitt was 6, Curtis Rourke was 7, Diego Pavia was 8, Tyler Shue was 9, and Jalen Milroe was 10. Does that PFF rankings, in your mind, do a good enough job at letting us as college football fans know what we witnessed in terms of greatness this season? Does it do a good job of depicting the actual best quarterbacks in the game? Jackson Dart, I was high on, again, a 91.9 PFF grade. I think you can nitpick it, but for the most part, Diesel, I don't think anybody can make bones about who was number one this season.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we need to know the criteria for how they grade.
Yeah.
Number two, this is a great data point. Like a lot of data points funnel into this data point, and then that is just one data point that kind of can paint a bigger, broader picture of who the best quarterbacks were in college football. I mean, it certainly points out the fact that you got some really good quarterbacks on some very mediocre football teams. I'm talking about Kyle McCord. I mean, Syracuse was good this year, but could you imagine if Kyle McCord had transferred somewhere else other than Syracuse? If he was at a bigger, more prestigious program, he might have had the ability to get his team into the playoff this year. So we might be talking about a very different story. You can certainly use this to color some of the things that we've talked about over the course of the season.
You could. All right, before we run to a break, we do have about 90 seconds. Guy wants to chime in on the phone lines, 844-FAN-PHONE. Guy, what's on your mind, man?
Just, you were talking about tuning into the national championship. I mean, how many people in Michigan do you think watched Ohio State versus Notre Dame?
All of them.
And who did they want to lose more?
Ohio State. So, I mean, maybe they tuned out because by the third quarter, it felt like that game was pretty much over. But are you telling me that sports fans in Michigan didn't watch just because they don't like Ohio State?
I'm saying sometimes it's a matter of who the two teams are. Sometimes people tune in to watch a team lose as much as they do a team win.
They do, but I just don't know that the only problem with that argument that I have, Guy, is like last year, I would have thought Washington. Who in the South is going to tune in and watch Washington in the national championship game?
And it was highly rated. Again, I didn't.
Yeah, it was more than this year's. last year's was, which was Washington versus Michigan.
Well, how is it when you have an SEC team then? I mean, I haven't looked at the ratings over the last few years, but I know when there's an SEC team in, it probably does much better.
You would think so,
Except
but
if
then again, Ohio State's what, the biggest school in America?
Well, I'm thinking, go back to the year when it was LSU, Alabama.
Yeah,
I would be nice to see how that one was, because outside of the SEC, and that was when the SEC was in their power years.
Yeah.
So, again, it's just my 2 cents.
Thanks for the call, Guy.
And Guy, like, we're all supposing here without having the ratings in front of us year over year. It's tough to know. That matchup was certainly part of that whole SEC fatigue conversation. I mean, we had already even seen that matchup just a couple of weeks prior to that. So the conversation, I remember the conversation that year being about, why would anybody tune in and watch the national championship game? We just saw this one a couple of weeks ago.
I know, man.
So,
it's wild.
there's a lot of different reasons. And I think it's much more complex than pointing to one reason why the ratings go up and why the ratings come down. When we come back, Cole, we talked to another brand new head coach. We had on the new Gaffney head coach yesterday. Well, today we're going to have on the brand new head football coach at North Greenville, Nate Garner, coming up next on the Fan Upstate. Man, we're getting spoiled with head coaches coming on the show over the past couple of days. It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. We bring on the newest head coach for the North Greenville football program, a program that's found a lot of success over the past couple of years. You know, I'm scrolling back and I'm seeing a lot of double-digit win seasons in a row in the last couple of – let me rephrase that. A program that had some success about 6-7 years ago, has fallen on a little bit of a difficult run over the past couple of seasons as we bring on Nate Garner, new head football coach at North Greenville. Coach, number one, congratulations on the brand new job. Number two, can you tell us what attracted you most to taking this opportunity at North Greenville?
Oh, thank you very much for the congratulations. And honestly, it's a great opportunity, man. It's a great school, great area. South Carolina is a hotbed for high school athletics, and I think it's a great spot to go recruiting and just being here to recruit to.
Coach, for those out there, for our listening audience today, right here in the Upstate, would you take this moment to introduce yourself to them? Obviously, North Greenville up in northern Greenville County, where you played college ball, also played professional ball. Just a quick summary of where Nate Garner has been for those in the Upstate that may not be familiar with you.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to play college ball at the University of Arkansas. I played with some awesome guys around me that helped propel me to have an opportunity to play in the draft in the 7th round of the 2008 draft. Got drafted to the Jets. That didn't last very long. Got cut after training camp my rookie year, but fortunately the Miami Dolphins took a shot on me and played me off waivers. Ended up spending 7 seasons active with them, where I got starts at all 5 positions, played a little bit of tight end, H, a little bit of everything, man. So I've been all over the place. I've coached, I think, in the last 9-10 years. Got my start in high school ball down in South Florida, just kind of sticking my toe in the water after recovering from an injury. And I haven't looked back, man. Just love the job, love the grind of coaching, and love the development of these players, man. It's absolutely amazing what these guys can do these days.
Well, you know, Coach, having that, that stick-to-itiveness attitude, knowing that, you know, a great career, a 7-year career is just somebody being willing to take a chance on you is such an important lesson that you can impart upon young athletes in this day and age. A lot of fans put, you know, in quotations, NFL experience on a pedestal when it comes to coaching, especially right now, because you see a lot of guys getting brought back to the college level who have coached in the NFL, who have played in the NFL. Why do you think that NFL experience is such an important, you know, box to check when it comes to athletic directors making these hires?
Honestly, it's just real world experience, man. Like we've done it at the highest level. We know what it takes to get there, and we know what it takes to develop a winning mindset. If you made it any time in the NFL, you have the right mindset to lead young men, in my mind, because you have that perseverance, the ability to overcome all the adversity and all the different things that life's going to throw at you, and it's something you can pour into these kids and help them develop and grow.
We're talking to Nate Garner, the new head football coach at North Greenville. Coach, at what point in your career, whether it was as a player or a coach, I know you spent some years at Limestone prior to coming to North Greenville, at what point did you feel like you were ready to take that leap of becoming a head coach?
Honestly, it was after my second season at Limestone. We were going through the spring. Coach Furry ended up getting the opportunity to go down to South Carolina, and they promoted Jericho. And I've known Jericho since 2008. He was at the Jets when I got drafted there. And me and him kind of talked a little bit about it and what it took for him to be in that position, and all the he kind of gave me a trial run, if you say, within this past season. And it's been awesome. He's been a mentor for me. Coach Furry's been a mentor for me. And I just really learned a lot from those guys, and learned a lot of what I want to do and some of what I don't want to do. And I think it was a great asset and set me up for great success here.
Talking with Nate Garner, the new head football coach at North Greenville. Can you talk about some of the benefits that you foresee or that you hope to develop in your coaching career by going through the route of coaching smaller programs? Who knows where this ends up? I mean, you know, you could be head coach at Ohio State, succeeding Ryan Day in a couple of years. Who knows? But what do you think is really going to stand out from your time at a smaller program like North Greenville?
It's just all the different hats you wear, man. Like I've done everything from IT work at Limestone, even doing a little bit of it here today, trying to get our printer back working, all the way to dealing with housing, dealing with all the different parts of campus. So I think it just makes you a fixture on campus. You get to go out and see every single area of campus, meet with all the different people, and it just kind of ingrains you into the school. I think that is something that you learn at a smaller school that you might not necessarily be able to at a bigger school, because you got so much more on your plate there and so many more people to delegate to.
Coach, let's talk about the actual relationship part of coaching. And this is something that I don't think gets talked about enough. We bring it up from time to time, on this program, and it's talked about by coaches. But nowadays we hear coaches say and preach that you have to coach each player as their own individual player in today's society, with people not responding to the old school, tough-nosed football coach. They don't respond to that like they used to, right? People are different. Kids are wired differently today than they were 30 years ago. What's your mentality? What's your take on how to not only coach to win games, but connect with these players on a one-on-one basis?
Well, one of the things I've noticed is that the kids know a lot more now than when I knew when I was growing up. There's a lot more information available to them, and it allows them to ask questions that I might not have felt comfortable asking as a kid. And I think that's to pour more into them, because they're asking you questions and they're more open to that. And they're not just yes, sir, guys, no, sir, guys. They're going to be like, hey, why do we do this? What are we doing this for? How do I get to this point in my life? Like it takes just not just from football, but to life as well. And I think that's a great aspect of this day and age in coaching. And I'm embracing it wholeheartedly, and I absolutely love it.
Can you talk a little bit about expectations, not the expectations that you're going to face from your athletic director and the fan base there, but talk about the expectations that you're going to have for your players. What is the baseline expectation for how they're going to behave, how they're going to conduct themselves when they're on campus, when they're in the locker room, when they're out dealing with the public in their day-to-day lives?
Oh, one of the things we say here is Christ makes the difference, right? So they're going to conduct themselves in a Christ-like manner. And I expect that on a day-to-day. Man, I'm not going to accept anything but tough guys out there. If you're soft, hey, you might as well find a different place to play, because that is not what I'm about. I'm not an old school hard-nosed player, but I will not accept laziness or softness on the field, man.
You can give him a follow on Twitter, on X at Nate_Garner_75, retired 7-year NFL offensive lineman, the new head football coach at North Greenville. What do you think the mind or the ceiling in your mind is, Coach, in this new conference that North Greenville is joining for the first time when it comes to football, and the ceiling for the program in general, now that you've had about a week or so to kind of get your feet wet?
Oh, man, I'm still getting my feet wet, but I think the ceiling for this place is the sky's the limit, man. We can pour into these guys. I can develop the guys that I have here. I can go out and recruit a bunch of high school guys around the area. Like, we got official visits tonight. I'm actually running a little bit late for that because I wanted to be on here and talk to y'all. I'm excited.
We appreciate
for the area around here, man.
Nate, can you go into your former employer, your former team, the Miami Dolphins? Finished just under 500 this year. Didn't have an awful season, obviously, with Tua and the injuries that he keeps sustaining. That certainly sets the team back a little bit. But what are your thoughts on their 2024 season, and are they going to be able to sneak past the Bills in the AFC East next year? Because that looks like a tall task.
Ball player leading that team really well. And, their play caller up there, he's absolutely amazing. Well, if they can hang on to him, you know what I mean? That guy is something special. I got a chance to work with him a short stint back in 2018 at the New Orleans Saints, and he's got a great mind for football, and I'm very excited for what his future holds for him. As far as the Dolphins go, man, they just got to grind it out. They just got to keep working, keep progressing, and keep improving every year. And I think that's something that they kind of got away from the last couple of years. I think that's something Coach McDaniel is going to pour into the offseason and get them going.
Coach, my last question for you before we let you run. You talk about NFL coaches. As you came up through college and the pros, who are some guys, and I know you mentioned this briefly at your press conference last Tuesday, who are some guys that you consider part of your coaching tree that you lean on, on a regular basis for advice and kind of model your coaching style after them?
Man, I got a bunch of guys that have been absolutely amazing. I mean, I had Tony Sperano when I was at the Dolphins, who he was honestly helping me out shortly before he passed. He was trying to help me on my path, and then I also have Coach Houston Nutt. He's been there for me, ride or die, since I was at Arkansas. Man, he honestly couldn't have done it without him. His guidance, I model myself a lot after him. He was a player's coach. We wanted to play for him. We would have ran through a brick wall for him, and I hope my players feel the same way about me. And then in the league, man, I got honestly my OC at Arkansas too, David Lee. He was ended up being the quarterback's coach of the Dolphins, and probably part of the reason I ended up down there after I got cut from the Jets. He's been a mentor to me, to ask him more life questions, more football questions. Not a lot of people know him, but it's Coach Gooch, man. His name is Pacifico David de Guglielmo. He probably wouldn't like me saying his government name, but it's a very unique one, man. He was my O-line coach down at the Dolphins, and absolutely love that guy. He's been there for me. He actually let me come spend training camp in 21 with him when he was at La Tech. So he's just been pouring into me as well. I kind of take a little bit from all those guys. And then obviously you got Coach Furry down in South Carolina now, and then Coach Cotchery. Those two are near and dear to me. I've honestly talked to those guys multiple times over the last couple of weeks, just trying to navigate the newness of being a head coach.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Best of luck in your tenure at North Greenville, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Awesome. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate it.
Nate Garner, the new head football coach at North Greenville. I think it does help, Diesel, going back to like NFL experience. You asked him the question about, putting that on a pedestal. I'm not saying like coaches without NFL experience aren't good, but when you talk about having to relate to young men and being able to draw from those experiences in the NFL, I think it's invaluable.
Well, especially now you have to be able to look at everything sort of cold and calculated from a business standpoint, because this is all a business. And I mean, the likelihood that very many, if any, players coming off the new North Greenville roster are going to go to the NFL is fairly low. It's not to say it's impossible, but the chances are pretty low. So especially at the program size, the next level up program size, you have to be able to treat this thing as a business. And that's the way a lot of young athletes are consuming sports right now anyway. Business. It's not passion, it's business.
Yeah.
And I know that really kind of sticks in the crawl of a lot of us old school sports fans. We want it to be passion, not business, but it is what it is. And so these guys have learned to treat it like a business. So if you get them into a college program and it's not about business, it's all about passion, they're going to say, this is not what I signed up for, coach. I'm going to go somewhere else.
I love asking coaches, though, even on the pro level. And Diesel, we see, you and I see and cover and talk about coaches at every level being canned day in and day out, right? One of the most fascinating things that I think when it comes to coaching in 2025 is what I asked him about dealing with players on an individual basis. We talk about X's and O's, we talk about teams winning games, but I deal with a lot of coaches at the high school level. I think truly, Diesel, the best coaches out there at any level are the ones that understand that every single player has to be coached a different way. You can't just go out and yell at your entire team, MF all of them, tell them how bad they suck, tell them how much they need to get better, right? Like, it's truly so much different today than it was even 10, 15 years ago when you and I were growing up playing sports. I mean, tough love was just something you were used to.
Coach would grab you by the face mask, get in your face.
And nowadays, if that happens, you're going to jail. Their parents coming out of the stands wanting to fight you. I just think there's so much value, and I'm not saying older coaches can't do this, but I'm just saying like there's a lot of value to being able to relate to the players on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah. Because
how are you going to ask them to give everything they have if they don't respect you? And that starts with head coach. I think coaching's tougher now than it's ever been, man.
Can you imagine how much time as a coach you have to spend inviting players to your office to have these one-on-one conversations?
Well,
you spend a lot of time doing that. You almost wish you could sort of identify them into 2 or 3 different groups. Okay, here's the hard asses that I can scream at. Here's the softies that I have to put my arm around.
Sure.
And here's the ones that are, well, they're right. They're over here in a different category. They're just thinking about something completely different. I want to put them in these 3 buckets so that I can know which coach to send over there to yell at these kids, which coach to come over here and ask them about their feelings, and which coach to talk about their shoe deal, because that's all they care about.
I don't think in the past there was as much emphasis on what you just talked about. Do you remember when we had the new defensive coordinator for Clemson, Tom Allen, when we had his audio that we played right here on this station? He talked about that very thing. He said, one of my first steps is meeting with every single defensive player. He even said to the extent of having a file on his computer for every single player. I'm not saying that didn't happen 20 years ago, but tell me if it did. Find a coach that did. Find a coach that had to go that in detail because of the way you have to coach players. It's not because the coaches weren't organized. It's because you could lump everybody into one general category and coach everybody the same way. You just can't do that now.
Well, did you not see We Are Marshall with Matthew McConaughey, where he used this little mnemonic device that he picked up from reading his wife's Red Book?
It's true.
Where he learned their names. He learned something they like. Boom. That's all he needed to know, right? He needed to know your name, and this guy likes cheeseburgers, that guy likes pizzas. Now it's so much more in-depth.
So much more in-depth. Michael texted in on the text line, which you can do, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Michael says, as a player who made it professionally from a small area school, my players respect the fact that I made it and want to know how so they can do it. Good luck, coach, says Michael. Now, how much, and here's what I was thinking about while we were interviewing him, how much of this hire for North Greenville was not because of, but had to do with Landon Powell, who also made it to the big leagues, had a very good career in college, being the coach of the baseball program, winning national championships, getting players to the pro level, and how much of this football decision had to do with that, almost them trying to replicate it, because I think what Michael said is true. Like in this world, you mentioned this earlier with the players, it is business. They want to figure out how they can make it more than they do how they can win a championship. Now, again, that might ruffle feathers, but players want to know how me. They want to know how they can make it. The first question they want to know is, how can I make it pro? Not, hey, how can we win a championship, but how can I make it to the pro level? And I think having, to Michael's point, somebody who's been there, who's done that, I think it's attractive for recruits.
Tiger Stripes Media on YouTube says it would be tough to coach in this day.
I'm telling you, man.
Why do you think there's so many sitting head coaches or former head coaches? They get hired to all these staffs. They need as many coaches as possible who know how to manage personnel all over their athletic building so that they can handle this as well as they possibly can.
It's tough. I agree with Tiger Stripes. I think coaching today is so much more difficult, not from just the transfer portal and NIL and the way recruiting is, but from the aspect of having to handle each of these players as their own oneself, they're handling them on a one-on-one basis. I think that makes it so much tougher. And I think that's why when you do see good coaches who get to the mountaintop, like Ryan Day, people say, oh, well, Ryan Day did what he was supposed to do. Well, guess what? There's a lot more that goes on in winning and keeping the roster together and people happy and players on the team than just showing up. So I think that's why it's so impressive. When we come back, Diesel, we will get into what happened last night in the SEC, Clemson basketball, South Carolina basketball, ACC as well. A statistic that happened last night that you may never hear again in your entire lifetime. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You really need to make sure that you are sitting down for this stat. Diesel, I saw this morning on Twitter, on X. Peter Burns of SEC Network tweeted this out, and it is in our Daily Wires as well, which are coming up in about 15 minutes right here on the Fan Upstate. However, are you sitting down, Tolos? You might want to be. Last night was historic. Georgia, Ole Miss, and South Carolina Diesel, those three SEC teams, led for 119 minutes and 14 seconds of 120 minutes of game time. Again, I'm going to repeat that. Out of 120 minutes of game time, Georgia, Ole Miss, and South Carolina led for 119 minutes and 14 seconds. You say, okay, Cole, what's so special about that? All three of those teams went 0 for 3. They went 0 for 3. Georgia, Ole Miss, South Carolina led for 119 minutes, 14 seconds out of 120 minutes of game time combined last night. And all three teams lost. How does that even happen? There's no way that even happened. South Carolina last night led the entire game. They even led by 16, 20. They were on a big run. South Carolina was playing really good last night. And guess what? Florida, at the very last minute, what did they do? They came back and won the freaking basketball game last night. Unbelievable. 70-69. The Florida Gators on top. And again, a really good Florida team. They're number 5 for a reason. South Carolina falls to 0-6 in the SEC. And boy, like, don't get me wrong. It's not time to start firing anybody yet in Columbia. But what a season it has been. So much talent on this team for South Carolina. And they've simply just not performed. They've not performed well. Excuse me. They're 10-9 now on the season, and they are absolutely winless in conference. How does that happen? How does that absolutely happen? All three of those teams lost. Look, South Carolina, what's frustrating, and I want to hear from you Gamecock fans as well. Diesel had to step away. He'll be right back. But you Gamecock fans out there, I want to hear from you because I know it's frustrating, and I know Tom calls all the time, and we have the Tolo takeover coming up in 30 minutes from now where we'll really need your participation. But this has got to be a devastating season. Like at this point, it's a wash. It's a wrap. It's pretty much over. You haven't won a conference game, and we're almost in February. That's not good. That's not where this South Carolina program was supposed to be after where they were last year with less talent and guys like B.J. Mack from Wofford being big contributors for the South Carolina team. They have Colin Murray Boyles and all these talented young players, but Diesel, now this South Carolina team, they're just not doing the proper, they're not doing what it takes to win. And now they're still looking for their first conference win. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, these are the kind of results that you don't want it to happen, but these are the results that start eroding some of the confidence in Lamont Paris going forward, right? I mean, this is not going to be the reason he gets fired. I know that athletic directors have to be more savvy, and they have to understand that in this transfer portal era, it's really, really difficult to get a team to gel and to be successful. Now, I also know that these athletic directors know that the SEC is much tougher in basketball than it's been in a very, very long time. So you're adding instability and a lack of chemistry to a very, very difficult league in college basketball. That is a recipe for losing a lot of basketball games. That's the recipe for getting blown out by 20 or 30 a night. That's the recipe for losing games down the stretch when you've led most of the game and you give it up right there at the very end. Winning is hard, and it's just those little things that cause you to lose, man. And I am feeling for Colin Murray Boyles. I'm feeling for the players on this team, Nick Pringle And I'm thinking, man, it's got to be tough to want to stick around for another year after this. This is another one of those situations that causes a team to break apart, fracture, and go their own way in the transfer portal again. So we'll see how it plays out.
It's just weird when you talk about guys like Nick Pringle. I don't know exactly why Nick Pringle hasn't been able to really elevate his game. He's never been an outstanding scorer ever. Even in Alabama, he averaged 6.8 points per game in Alabama. He's averaged 9.8 this year in 2024 and 2025 through 19 games. He shoots the ball okay. I mean, from the field, he's 62% on average. Now, the rebounds, the assist, obviously a guy like that with his post play, you're looking for those rebounds. You're looking for him to be really good defensively as well. They have not performed as a team. They have not played as a team. I just think there's way too much talent there. And again, I don't know if it's guys who were all really good in different areas just not coming together. Jordan Butler, I don't know. But I will tell you this. I don't think you blow this thing up. I think you've seen enough, and here's where South Carolina fans may disagree. I think you've seen enough to where you feel like when these guys play well, Diesel, just a couple of weeks ago, they almost beat Auburn, the number 2 team in the country. Last night, number 5 Florida, led the entire game. So there's enough of a sample size where you see South Carolina play, you're like, dang, when they're playing good, they actually look like a competent basketball team that can compete for the conference. But, boy, that's just been so far and few between this season. I know it's going to be tough for Lamont Paris especially.
John Dog texts in and says, Georgia is a football school. Go Dogs. Texter says, the stolen inbounds pass at the end was inexcusable.
It's just tough.
It's tough when you have it. You feel like you have it in the bag, and then, man, sudden changes at the end of these kind of games. You would think, Cole, if you've got as much talent on the roster as South Carolina has this year, by this point in the season, things would start coming together, right? That these guys would start to gel. And even if you got off to a slow start, you start winning a couple of games down the stretch, you start feeling good about yourself. And then all you got to do, all you have to do, in air quotes, is make a pretty decent run in the SEC tournament and then hope that the selection committee says, oh, well, that's actually a really good team, right? I mean, they were playing hot down the stretch. They were playing good basketball down the stretch. We want to put them into the NCAA tournament. But, man, when you get to this point of the season and you're still hunting for your first win in conference, you got an awful lot of quad 1 and quad 2 losses. You don't have those really, really ugly ones, those quad 3 and 4 losses that are sitting on you, but you don't have enough of a resume to make it worthwhile.
Here's how that one sounded last night down the stretch. South Carolina was up 1, but the Gators went home victorious.
Gonna let him play. Now we'll let Clayton be the decision maker. Hedge out on Clayton. Richard on the drive. Richard got it with 4.8. Here they go. Right. 2, 1, right at the buzzer, missed it, and the Gators pull off. They'll come from behind win in improbable fashion. The only lead Florida had the entire game.
Now, to be fair,
not wire to wire.
No, it's not. They almost had it, as they say. To be fair, Florida's tied for one of their best starts ever in program history. They're 18-2, I believe now. So Florida's a really good team. And Diesel, you said a minute ago, you wish this team could kind of figure it out. I think the problem is you've almost had points in the season where you do start to figure things out, and then you run into the brick wall, which is, oh, by the way, the SEC's better than it's ever been. It's so tough. It's so tough to gain traction and to figure things out when you're a young team like this, playing in a conference as good as the SEC. I'm telling you, this is good as I've never seen the conference this good in basketball ever.
Right,
I've never seen it this good.
By the way, in just a couple of days, 2 days from now on Saturday, they're going to be playing another top 15 team in Mississippi State. Then they'll go on the road to a Georgia team. You got to get that win. You have to beat Georgia, because after that you've got number 13 Texas A&M, on the road at number 9 Kentucky, at home versus number 16 Ole Miss, and then on the road at number 5 Florida. You might go 1-5 over your next 6 games.
JD on the YouTube stream says, I think the team's lacking talent. Colin Murray Boyles is literally it. I think there's talent there, JD. I just think that for whatever reason, that talent seems undeveloped in a way where they're not getting the juice out of that fruit, right? They're not getting what they thought they were going to get. Now, on the other hand, Diesel, up in the upstate, Clemson off to a fantastic start, 16-4, 8-1 in the ACC. They had a 86-72 win over Syracuse last night, a really good win. Listen, Syracuse is down. They're way down. They're not even a winning program right now, 9-10 overall.
You beat the programs that you out-talent, you're better than handily.
Yeah.
And now you're doing something. If you're just squeaking past those types of teams by 4 points, 6 points, something like that, that's not what you're looking for.
No, you're handling
those
business.
games by 14 points. You're handling.
Yeah, you're handling business. And look, here's the reality of it. Clemson's at the top of the conference right behind Duke. I mean, Clemson is literally tied with Louisville in conference play, Diesel at 8-1. Duke's 8-0. So for Clemson, here's where I stand on Clemson basketball in 2025. I think you are in a fantastic position. However, the caveat to that is, Diesel, I think there's a downside to that. You know why? I now think that with Clemson being as good as they are and the conference being down, I think there's an added layer of pressure that Clemson has this year when it comes to actually being able to perform when it matters against quality competition, because you're, again, tied for second. You're right there at the top of the conference. Duke's the best team in the country, in my opinion. We all know how good Duke is. But now that you've arrived, now that you made an Elite Eight last year, guess what? You are now you're now considered as one of the best in the ACC, which sounds crazy, by the way. Welcome to 2025. I think that this team's in position to have a fantastic March, Diesel. South Carolina, not much so. But you talk about the play of Chase Hunter when he's able to provide what he did last night, 23 points against Syracuse. Victor Locken last night, 16 points, I believe a season high for him.
Double for him.
You feel like if you can get that guy going, who's been battling sickness, I think twice, and kind of has missed some valuable time, this Clemson team's in a really good spot as long as they can handle the pressures that come later in the season. And they have Duke coming up that's going to be tough.
Well, Cole, I was going to ask, is it fair that Clemson sits outside of the top 25 right now? As good as they are, in the Ken Palm, they're sitting at 26. I don't know where they are in the other, AP top 25 polls. But the fact is, you've got the SEC taking basically half of that top 25. And, it's going to be hard to break into that.
Well, it's going to be hard because of how much parity there is in the SEC. To your point, with Clemson on the outside looking in right now, according to the AP poll, Diesel, Louisville is 25th. So Clemson's right there. Look, I think Clemson is a top 25 team without a doubt.
Well, a big problem for them, Cole, is they don't have very many opportunities to prove it against elite level competition. Virginia Tech down, NC State down, Georgia Tech down.
Off of them.
Duke, very, very good. So you have to perform well against Duke. You cannot get blown out by 20 points in that game. Then you'll have back-to-back games against Duke and North Carolina, and then it's going to be another couple of weeks before you play some more good competition. I mean, Duke is the only currently ranked team on the rest of their 2025 slate.
Yeah.
So they're going to need to perform well against Duke. It's hard to say that's a must win for Clemson, but it really is. And then you got to do well in ACC play.
I don't think it's a must win. I think Clemson's done enough early in the season with some significant wins, like the Kentucky win back in December. I think they're going to lose to Duke. I think Duke's just, like I said, one of the best teams in the country. Right. Diesel. They're really good. Now, talking about outside of Duke, they've got an opportunity to run the table. They're going to blow Virginia Tech out Saturday. Mm-hmm. I mean, blow them out. And I'm sorry, Mike Young. I love you. I love Mike Young to death, former Wofford, basketball coach. But you look at the schedule, to your point, they have a chance outside of Duke to really run the table and set themselves up nicely. I think, I don't know if I've ever said this before, But on the 23rd day of December, I think it's safe to say Clemson's a lock in the tournament. I mean, they've got the schedule set up perfectly for them to look really good here in about 3 weeks.
When we come back, Cole, let's take a whip around the sports world, see what's happening out there in our Daily Wires. So much going on out there in the sports world these days, Cole. We can't talk about all of it in a full segment. Why not put them all into one quick one? We call these our Daily Wires. Here's the buzz happening around the sports world. We talked about it earlier. South Carolina had them all the way to the point where they didn't have them. And they lost last night to Florida, 70-69. South Carolina had only 3 players come off the bench and play last night. Arden Conyers was the only bench player to score. He tallied 10 points. Cole, how many times have we talked about not having depth, not having the ability to score off the bench is the reason why this South Carolina team is losing ball games?
You got to close, man. You got to find the way to finish. And they just, for whatever reason, they've had a couple of games go their way up until the very end this year.
Yeah, I don't know if they've got some sort of, they have the flu going through the locker room. Is there a reason why they only played 8 guys last night? That seems like a very thin rotation in SEC play. Clemson beat Syracuse last night, 86-72. 4 out of 5 Clemson starters scored at double digits. Chase Hunter led the team with 23 points. Victor Locken scored a double-double, 16 points and 10 rebounds. You talked about this as well. Stat of the day from Peter Burns. Georgia, Ole Miss, and South Carolina led for 119 minutes and 14 seconds of a total of 120 minutes of game time. They went 0-3. Just brutal.
I've never heard a stat like that in my life.
How did you even decide to put that stat together?
Both teams probably leaning wire to wire and colossal collapses in all 3 SEC games.
Speaking of colossal collapses, I shouldn't say this, Cole, but it's true. Furman has now lost 3 of its last 4 games, dropping another one last night to VMI, 91-82. They are now 3-4 in conference play. We had very high hopes for this Paladins team. They've dug themselves into a little bit of a hole here. But, Cole, does it really matter considering Southern Conference is a 1-bid league, and all you have to do is go win the conference tournament?
Well, it makes things interesting because what it does is, Diesel, it gives teams like Furman a sense of hope that, hey, it doesn't matter what happens in the regular season. If we can get this thing turned around and go win the conference, we're in.
Yeah, and it also may help them make things a little bit easier when it comes to seeding. Cole, Wofford has won 5 of its last 6 games. They last night beat the Citadel 79-68. They're 5-2 in conference play. Tonight in the Sun Belt, 5-2 in conference. App State plays at 5-2 Arkansas State. That game's going to be on ESPN2. Red Wolves favored by 7.5. Coastal Carolina, who are 8-11 overall, 1-6 in conference play, will be at the overall 10-9 Georgia Southern Eagles. Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, and Jared Goff.
We're going to get to that.
And Lamar Jackson are.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw you. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Reset. Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and Lamar Jackson are finalists for the Associated Press 2024 NFL MVP. Please don't give it to Lamar. Please don't give it to Lamar. What happens in the playoffs has to matter. It has to matter.
It does. I agree with you. No, I really do. I like him a lot, though. He's good.
Until the weather gets cold, right? The National Football League announced today a partnership with Responsible Gambling Council, the RGC, to develop and implement a comprehensive responsible gambling training program specifically designed for university and college student athletes.
That was right after the marketing meeting where they onboarded the new gambling partner.
Exactly. So we're gonna show you all these ways to gamble and make money, and then we're gonna tell you, by the way, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Be responsible. The RGC and NFL have identified student athletes as an important audience for targeted responsible gambling and problem gambling prevention initiatives, as previous research has shown their susceptibility to risky gambling behavior. You don't say.
Yeah, thanks for letting us Thanks for letting us in on that one.
We would rather not have our future stars be caught up in point shaving accusations. So we can't have them getting in deep with the Sharks. Deion Sanders says he will not comply with demands from activist groups to stop, quote, infusing the football program with Christianity. Good for you, Deion.
Yeah,
it's your team.
It's your team. And again, I think there are some coaches, that probably would. for me on that topic, I think it goes to, how much does it matter to you? How much does your faith matter to you? And obviously to Deion, it matters enough to where he is not going to waver.
Like, how is it damaging these activist groups to know that Deion is preaching the word in meetings? I don't see a problem with that.
Activist groups are.
Oh, that's true. The Hub City Spartanburgers announced a matchup between Wofford and USC Upstate for April 1st, 2025.
I love that.
Tickets went on sale this morning at 10 a.m.
Little college baseball in the – oh, by the way, I was downtown Spartanburg this past weekend. That thing's nice.
Is it?
Nice.
I've seen a photo that Mancraft sent me. It was
good.
Getting there, man. And let's see. Finally, no, not second to last. The Miami Heat suspended star guard Jimmy Butler for 2 games. A spokesperson said, we've suspended him for a continued pattern of disregard of team rules, insubordinate conduct, and conduct detrimental to the team, including missing today's team flight to Milwaukee.
No bueno, Jimmy.
Acting out, Cole.
I'll tell you what is muy bueno, mucho bueno, is the Tolo takeover. It's your chance to take over these airwaves, Tolos. That's you. I'm talking to you right now, driving down the road. If you want to rant, if you want to rave, if you want to talk bad about somebody, as long as it's not your grandma, you can do it right here on the Fan Upstate. The Tolo takeover is next. Get in line, 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663.
okay? It took me 1 hour to get $14.65 worth of gas.
By God, if I don't get that extra cup of sauce, I'm coming back in. I ain't waiting in line.
Okay, I saw some stuff on the internet that really got me going. Y'all have got me conditioned that I gotta say thank you every time I call you guys. And when it's the Tolo takeover, I kind of want to just call and be angry for a minute, but I got to start off being all cordial and say thank you for taking my call.
You don't have to.
Well, this isn't a bad part. I mean, that's a bad part, but that's not why I'm mad at sales.
The Gamecocks are trying to win and Tuscaloosa on Saturday. Y'all need to be fired.
The grocery stores, at least the ones nearest me, are completely out of frozen pizzas, except for cauliflower pizzas.
Oh.
So if you are at the grocery store and nobody will buy your cauliflower pizzas, maybe you should stop carrying them.
What really ticks me off when he speaks, not because he's the Clemson football coach, but when he speaks about an ACC game, he makes it seem like it's some big ordeal. Dabo, your schedule sucks.
And I am pissed off today, okay? It took me 1 hour to get $14.65 worth of gas.
So what in the world could you out there, you Tolos, which stands for Turn On Levon, what could you be pissed off about today? Well, guess what? Diesel and I, we give you an opportunity on these airwaves to rant, to rave, to take over. If it's good, if it's bad, whatever you are upset about, whatever you need to get off your chest, Diesel, now's the time. Tolo Takeover. Phone lines are open, 844-326-3663. Diesel, do you have something to get off your chest today?
I do. And as the kids these days say, you got to say it with your chest. And I say that to Kane, P1 Armada elitist, who says, it's been a while. Where should we begin? Kane, call in. Talk to the show, 844-326-3663. Cole, I am mad about this in advance because I just know the college basketball selection committee is going to find a way to screw over a program that did everything they were asked to do, which was to get into their conference tournament, go on a 3 or 4 day run, win the damn thing. Mm-hmm. And then what are they going to do? They're going to screw them over, stick them into a play-in game, which doesn't really count in my mind of being in March Madness. That is one of my biggest pet peeves about the game, about the tournament, is sticking conference champions into a play-in scenario, Cole. I hate it, and it feels disrespectful to relegate a conference champion to a play-in.
Conference champions in the play-in.
And I know it's going to happen because it happens every year.
No, I'm sitting here in my mind trying to think, how can I disagree? I don't think I can. I don't think I can disagree with that. I think it's valid.
How about the last place team in a 2-bid league? That's the team. Those are the teams that need to be in the play-in.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like that a lot. I like that. You deserve. You earn your way there, right? I'm with you there. I like that. 844 fan phone. We do have callers getting in line now. 844-326-3663. Save that number in your phone. Before we get to the phones, I'll give mine. I think my biggest thing that I have to gripe about today, the keyword biggest, because I could probably gripe about 2 or 3 things, Diesel. You know what drives me insane? And I don't know why, but if I ever became, we just had an inauguration. If I ever became president, I believe one of the first executive orders I would sign is that when you go through a drive-through, and when you go through a drive-through, it should be a law that unless you ask for the receipt, they don't give it to you. Here's you're going to learn something really weird about me today. I hate the way receipt paper feels. I hate it. I hate it. You know how like nails on a chalkboard to some people? I cannot stand the way receipt paper feels, Diesel. It's absolutely horrible. Don't give me a receipt anymore. I have to figure out what to do with it. Now I've got goosebumps because I hate the way it feels. No more receipt paper unless I ask for a freaking receipt. Don't give me a receipt for my chicken. I'm not returning my chicken fingers.
You just gave me so much cannon fodder. I don't know if you realize what you've just done, Cole. You know what? You're going to come in one day. I'm going to find out when your birthday is because I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to find out. And I am going to cover our office in receipt paper streamers. I mean, really, all I need to do is go buy like 3 things at CVS, and that'll be enough, right? Because each time you do that, it prints out a 10-foot receipt.
I just hate the way it feels, man. I hate it. Do you not? Come on, I have that icky. Like
icky
receipt paper doesn't bother you?
No, it's just pointless. Because what am I going to do? I'm going to throw it away and I'm going to throw it in the trash can right there.
But it doesn't feel right. It just doesn't. There's something about it that doesn't. I cannot stand the way receipt paper feels.
It's the slick or like the cheap old school receipts, like where you could almost get like the dust on your fingers from it.
I'm telling you, man, it's the worst. For some people, it's nails on a chalkboard. For some, it's like chewing with your mouth open. For me, it's the way that receipt paper feels.
Did you ever watch Jackass?
Yes, I did.
TV show. Yeah. There was a relatively unknown character on that show. His name was Rake, and he was deathly disgusted by yellow mustard.
Really?
And so what do? Of course, they all surround him, and they all they all have like each 2 or 3 tubes of yellow mustard, and they just drench this guy, and he goes into a rage and starts fighting and punching people. Is that how you feel about receipt paper?
When I grab, a lot of times, like if I go through a drive-through, you hand them your card at the first window, right? You have to tell them no receipt, and they're like, okay. So they don't give you a receipt, but it's so weird. I hate having to feel the way a receipt feels. It's the worst. I mean,
we're living in a green world. Why do we even need receipts?
I'm
for
not
everything
bringing back
anymore?
my cheeseburger. I'm not bringing it back. I don't need my receipt. If my tax lady needs it, I'll get the statement from my banking app, right?
Yeah,
statement.
You've got an electronic statement. I don't need a receipt unless I pay cash. Which I don't ever pay cash.
What is that? What's cash? What is this cash?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Got room for a couple more for the time being. It's the Tolo Takeover. If you want to take over these airwaves, you can do so right now. First in line is the one, the only Dewey. What's up, Dewey?
Yes. Well, since you mentioned receipts, the only thing I'm going to say about that is receipt paper reminds me of toilet paper.
Why?
I don't like toilet.
What kind of toilet paper do you buy?
But anyways, toilet paper. But anyways, I'm going to keep it simple. When you go to traffic school and you learn how to drive, you learn that green light means go and red light means stop. My question is, why are we stopping at green lights? We always stop at green lights. Everyone in front of me stops at a green light, and I don't understand. And then they get upset when I honk at them and give them the finger. And then what's even worse is that then they're going to get mad when you rear end them. You're at a green light. You follow. That's what's wrong with Woodruff Road. I look at Woodruff Road, green light, green light, green light, and everyone stops, and I'm just blaring on the horn with my middle finger. And someone's going to get mad at me. Well, learn your colors. Go back to traffic school, or you just don't get your driver's license revoked. Just like Chris Justice got his weather license revoked for lying. Green light means go, people. That means everyone.
Dewey, you got such a problem with people who don't go fast enough through green lights. What about people who don't stop for red lights? People who blow through red lights?
Well, that's the problem. They failed traffic school apparently. Red means stop. Green means go. Yellow means
go faster.
Still go.
Yeah, speed up. Thanks, Dewey.
Thank you, Dewey.
Dewey says red means stop. Green means go. Like I guess I'm with him in it. You know, like I think people who get on my nerves and irritate me, Diesel, while they're driving are the ones that unnecessarily stop a lot. Like if you're turning, you don't need to come to a complete stop. That's what drives me crazy.
What drives me crazy is people who wait until they're starting their turn to put on their turn signal. It doesn't help anybody to put on your turn signal as you're beginning the turn or once you're already in the turn. It's supposed to be a signal of your intent to turn.
Oh, by the way,
you put on the turn signal a solid 50 feet before you intend to turn to let people know I'm about to turn.
No, I'm with you there.
Not while you're doing it.
I hate. I'm with Dewey on. I hope no highway patrolmen are listening. I do have a little bit of a lead foot. I like to exceed the speed limit. And
I didn't know your car could exceed the speed limit.
Oh, it can go. It can go.
Oh,
I wouldn't know.
Oh.
I only go 60. 60 is the fastest I go. I don't know what you're talking about. But I'm with them. People who unnecessarily slow down, it does drive you crazy. Tolo Takeover right now. Call in 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Kane, we did lose you, just to let you know. If you want to retry, you can. If you want to rant or rave, the phone lines are all yours. We go to Somerville. Tom in Somerville. What's up, Tom?
Hey, guys. Hey, Dewey brought up a solid point there. When the light is green, that means go. That does not mean wait 15 seconds and then go. When the light turns green and you're in the front of the line, you floor that gas and you get going.
That's right.
Because the longer you wait to go, the more likely it is I'm going to catch the red light. And that drives me crazy. But I had been able to talk to y'all the last couple days because been busy down here in the winter wonderland. But I'll say this. I had on Monday night watching the football game, I had the most interesting experience of my life. So my wife didn't want to cook, and I didn't blame her. So I said, let's go up down the street to a little establishment and watch the game, have some dinner, and come home at halftime. Well, we're sitting there. We had just ordered our food, and I look up at my wife, and she's got this just astonishing look on her face, and I knew it wasn't for my looks, so I asked her, I said, what's going on? And she just pointed at the TV, and guys, I don't think I've ever laughed as hard as I did that day. Somebody, I don't know how, but somebody had hacked the TV during the game, and they had played some very inappropriate videos. I'll just leave it
at that. No. Hijacked the TVs in the establishment.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Apparently, you can do it from your phone to the TV, and for about 30 seconds, it was a lot of mass chaos going on in that establishment as the bar owner was trying to get it all corrected. But man, I will never forget that the rest of my life as I was watching the national championship.
That's I didn't have that on my bingo card.
That's a different kind of blowout that you're watching on TV.
Diesel. Oh man!
Wow.
Hey. It was one of those things that you just got to sit back and laugh because it's not something you're going to see every day, and it was pretty funny.
Well, at least you hope not, right? What kind of establishments do y'all have in Somerville is what I want to know.
Hey, it was one of those little hole in the walls. For the respect out of them, I don't want to mention their names.
Yeah, please don't.
But man, it's a place my wife and I like to go. They got good food, good environment, and they have live music. So we were having us a good old time, and man, that just added to the environment.
Will you be going back to that establishment?
Oh yeah, yeah. Hey. With that kind of entertainment, why wouldn't you go back?
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Oh, man. I wonder if you have to tip extra for that kind of view.
I again, didn't have that one on my card today. Didn't see that coming, as they say. Tolo Takeover continues. We've got a couple more minutes, so if you want to get in, you better do it quickly. 844-FAN-PHONE. Michael wants to join the Tolo Takeover. Michael, what's up, man?
Hey, it's nice being on the phone line. I've never done this before. I just want to say I was the person that hacked that TV, first of all.
God.
Just kidding. The thing that is getting me fired up on this Thursday is my Furman Paladins are trash at football. I don't know if you're keeping up with it, but they were 12-1
Football?
in the non-conference. I mean, both, I guess, but we're talking about basketball right now.
Okay.
So they were 12-1 in non-conference. Now they're 15-5, 3-4 in the conference play. At halftime last night, they had 34 points from their bench. So you would think that they were winning the game, right? No. They had 2 points from their starters. They were losing by 7. They ultimately lost that game to a military school. I don't know what to think about this other than they suck.
It's a tough stretch right now.
Yeah.
Look, they're a young team. They've got a really good coach. Furman does. Bob Ritchie does a fantastic job. I think when you're playing in conference, you're seeing something different every night, and it's hard to control the variables in terms of only focusing on you. So I'm with you. It's frustrating, Michael, but maybe Paladins can turn it around. Diesel said it earlier, though. It's a one-bid league. If you can turn it around,
just need to go on a run late,
get hot late, and who knows, right?
Yeah, and then we might make it into a play-in game. So, we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, you guys got your asses a 10 hutted right on out of the building last night.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate the call.
Ugly performance. And what's going on with this
I'm
team
telling you,
over
man,
the last five or six games?
To Michael's point, they started off great.
Yeah, they did.
And I love SoCon. Like, I went to the Wofford game Saturday night. And
SoCon tournament in Asheville is fantastic.
It's fun. I was there. I think I've been to the SoCon tournament in Asheville several years in a row now. I love going. It's a fantastic venue. It's an older venue.
Yep.
But it's a great place to have that tournament. And I enjoy SoCon basketball a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's just when you're in conference play, man, like you feel like sometimes you just feel like you can't breathe enough to step back and figure out what's going on. You've got youth. It's a younger team, Furman is right now, and there's talent there. But Diesel, I think where it all started was the Wofford game where they just completely got blown out,
Well, there's a lot of parity in leagues like that. And you said it, most of these teams have been in this conference for a long time. They know each other well. You know each other's tendencies, and you all have roughly the same amount of talent year over year, right? So it's hard to find, just a team that has by far and away better talent in the conference, especially when you're talking about a Furman with the academic standards that they have to get in there. You can bring in good basketball players, and the hope is that your good basketball players that are relatively as good as Wofford and Samford and ETSU and Chattanooga, that your superior coaching can push you over the edge and have you be the best team in the league.
And I'm with you, and maybe they can. Still some time to figure it out. We got time for one more call before we run to a break. Caitlin, I believe. Caitlin, did I get that name right?
Yes.
What's up, Caitlin?
Okay, so my biggest complaint is leftovers.
Leftovers?
I'm with you. My wife gets mad at me all the time. She goes, you leave leftovers in the fridge so they go bad. Like, yeah, but it was great the first time when it was hot and fresh and ready.
What's your
and it goes bad after a while.
What's your problem with leftovers, Caitlin?
Okay, so I asked my parents what we're having for dinner tonight, and they said probably leftovers. I don't like leftovers; they're gross, and I don't like them half the time. Why can't we just go out to Moe's or Chick-fil-A?
Uber Eats is your friend, Caitlin. Just order it to the house and don't tell them.
What were the leftovers, Caitlin? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah.
Because that matters.
There's mac and cheese. There's ham. There's steak. I don't know.
Whoa.
Leftover steak?
I was on your side until you said there was leftover steak. Now I'm switching sides. I'm on your parents' team now.
I just don't like steak.
You just don't like the leftovers. Caitlin said, appreciate the call, Caitlin. Thank you for calling.
Awesome. First time call.
I love it. I like leftovers. I really do. Now, again, some things aren't anywhere as good the next day.
Yeah, things sometimes they don't set well.
I don't think seafood is good the next day unless it's, I don't know. French fries, not as good the next day. Some things aren't.
Maybe I'm flipping back to Caitlin's side here.
But you know what's bad though?
Hot and fresh.
I'll tell you where she got us. When she says, hey, let's just if I'm not a parent, but if I was, we're sitting here debating leftovers. Well, let's just go to Moe's or Chick-fil-A. Well, yeah, you got me, because Moe's and Chick-fil-A, those are good options.
Delicious.
You're not allowed to say those options. We're supposed to eat the leftovers.
Problem is, for our parents, for a kid, and I don't know if Caitlin has brothers and sisters. Now you're talking about $50, $60 for dinner for the three of you, Plus, for the 4 of you,
Yeah.
you can't do that every night. It gets expensive.
It adds up.
It's easy to say, let's just go out when you're spending mom and dad's money, not my money. When we come back, Cole, I want to try this. We've never done this on the show before. I want you and I want the Tolos to help me build the best 8-player NFL championship round entry. I'm going to put $10 on the line. Can we win some money? You and me and all the Tolos together. That's coming up next on the Fan Upstate. 2 games this weekend in NFL action. Commanders, Eagles, Bills, Chiefs, wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson Tolos. I know that we might have worn you out in the last segment, getting you to interact and be a part of the show. Well, I need you again, okay, Tolos? I need you to help me win us hopefully a round of free beers. Can we do that, guys? Can we do that? So you guys know that I've been doing this endorsement with Underdog Fantasy, which is it's a great fun app to track player projections and stats and play higher, lower. There's other games that you can play on the app as well. But hey, there's real money at stake on this. And I thought, Cole, why not get the Tolos help? Because I have been in an ice bath over the past couple of days. What's crazy is I was ice cold for a while. And then this past weekend, I went on a heater where I won 5 picks in a row, scored some money, and now I'm back in the cooler again. I can't figure out what's going on. So clearly, I'm making bad decisions.
No, it's just sports gambling.
I had Wemby. I had Wemby going under or lower than 28.5 points today, and every single time I played Wemby, I've played the under, the lower, and I have gotten it right every single time.
It's just hard, man. People don't realize, for example, today, the NBA game that was in Paris at 2:00, Pacers and Spurs. Diesel, for those out there that don't know, Indiana was favored in today's game, okay? Just so you can see how hard this is. Indiana was a favorite today in Paris against the Spurs. They lost by 30. They were favored by Vegas and lost by 30. It's not easy. I'm telling you, you lose more than you win.
Wemby has disappointed. Well, he's disappointed his higher lower stats, and I've been correct on going lower every time. So I went lower again on him, not realizing I didn't know that they were playing in Paris today. He was going to be playing in front of his hometown fans because he went off. Embarrassed me, made me look bad in this one. In that one, as a matter of fact, he ended up scoring 30. And the higher lower was 28.5. So he got me by 1.5. It absolutely chaps my ass when they just barely hit the higher. So here's what I want to do. I want you, Cole. I know Madcraft says he just downloaded the app and he loves playing. Awesome. Madcraft needs your help here. Tiger Stripes Media. He's throwing a name out there. I assume he means that I need to pick something with Cooper Kupp. Now, here's what's great about this. I'm going to build an 8-pick entry, right? So 8 picks, and then I'm going to put it on flex, which means we can get, I think, up to like 3 of them wrong and still win, cash out. So if any positive gain comes from this financially, I'm going to invite the Tolos who helped win some money out for a beer, and I'm going to pay for your beers.
That's nice.
I promise you, I'm going to do that. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to go to the NFL page here on this app, and Madcraft. No, you can't. It's too late. You can't do that. So Madcraft, call us up 844-FAN-PHONE 844-326-3663. Help us get in here and get some of these picks going. So, Cole, I'm going to let you go with Saquon Barkley. I'm going to assign, if you're okay with this,
okay,
I'm going to assign you Saquon Barkley in this Washington-Philadelphia game. All right? There's a lot of different things that you can pick, higher or lower on.
For Saquon?
For Saquon, yes. He also has vulture protection on. So that means if Saquon gets him down inside the 5 and the quarterback gets the touchdown, I get money back, right? Okay, so categories to choose from. This is not an exhaustive list because it'd take me forever to read through all of it. Higher, lower on half a touchdown. Higher, lower on half a rush and receiving.
Now, how many
touchdown.
total do you need here?
Higher, lower than 1. Yeah, you just need 1.
Okay.
Higher, lower on 24.5 rushing attempts. Rushing yards, 130.5. Longest run, 23.5. Rushing and receiving yards combined, 146.5.
You know what? Yardage is tricky in this game. It's an NFC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
I think possessions will be limited, but I do think he scores a touchdown on the ground. I think I was talking about that last night actually with somebody, and it was a prop bet we were discussing. I think Saquon Barkley over half of a touchdown's a safe bet.
So you want to go strictly rushing touchdowns?
Yeah, I think so.
I think go higher?
Yeah, then half.
Yeah,
I think he gets
just
so he
up,
gets in the end zone, right?
Just picking up a touchdown, getting in the end zone.
I think he does. Washington, look, you can score on Washington. You can move the ball on them. I think that's a safe bet. The yardage is tricky though because how they manage the game once that ball kicks off, man, yardage can become tricky. If they've got a late lead, Diesel, maybe they're going to run them a little more, right? Maybe you're over on total yardage would hit, but I think the safest bet there is the touchdowns.
Madcraft asks, is there not a rush and receiving? There is. It's also a half, but Cole wanted to go.
Don't you think, Madcraft?
Half the rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, I think the rushing touchdowns, and
the reason
Tiger
why
Stripes
you go,
Media agrees with me.
The reason why you go rushing, what may be logical, is you get a slightly higher payout if you narrow it down to just rushing touchdowns. It's slightly lower if you also allow him to get a receiving touchdown. So he's going higher on that.
Okay.
Madcraft, I need you to call into the station because it's easier to do over the station. But Madcraft, I'm going to assign you Jayden Daniels, quarterback of the Washington Commanders. How about that? Madcraft, quarterback Jayden Daniels. And here's the options to go here. Passing yards, rushing yards, passing touchdowns, passing and rushing yards combined, rushing attempts and passing attempts. Those are your options, Madcraft. So help me make a pick on Jayden Daniels. What would you do? He says he's on it. He's on it.
He's on what?
I don't know if he means he's calling.
Oh.
I don't know if that means he's looking on the app himself because he's on there playing. The question is, what is Jayden Daniels going to be able to achieve in this game? Jayden Daniels was insane last week in the divisional game.
He was. And again, he's the difference maker. Like their offense, they go when he goes. He's the guy. Look, 31 touchdowns in the regular season. Take that for what it's worth. I mean, he's already won 2 playoff games. I think you're talking about a guy who the stage isn't too big for. So when it comes to prop bets for him, I feel safe. I feel safe with what'd you say his yardage was? Did you read his yardage out?
Let me see. Let me get back to that one here.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Let's see. His passing yards, 225.5.
Okay.
His rushing yards, 54.5. And his passing and rushing yards combined, 284.5.
That 54 on the rushing is interesting. I believe we have Madcraft.
Yeah, let's bring Madcraft on the show. How are you, bud?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Okay, so you're caught up here. You got Jayden Daniels. That's who you're going to be making. That's who you're going to be making a pick for. The question is,
remind me one more time?
What category do you want to go with? We got passing yards at 225.5, rushing yards at 54.5, or passing and rushing yards combined at 284.5.
Overpassing yards.
Higher on the passing yards at 225.5.
So to give you some context, let's see here. He
went for 299 against Detroit.
Yeah.
268 against Tampa Bay.
Yep.
You go back to the Dallas game, he only had 38 yards.
Yeah.
Didn't play much.
227
and 258.
What did you get Philly last time?
It just went nuts.
258 through the air against 258 against Philly the second time. The first time 191 against. This is a good Philadelphia defense, though.
Yeah, it's a great defense, but there's only 3 options you gave me. Again, I would just go strictly with touchdowns. These guys are going to score. They're going to score touchdowns.
You don't like the rushing? The rushing, let's see, what was it, 54.5 for over-under rushing yards? That'd be, you know what, would you go under there if you had to choose one, Madcraft? Because he ran for 51 against Detroit, 36 against Tampa, 27 against Dallas. He didn't hardly play. Now, he did run for 127 yards against Atlanta, and then the Philadelphia game he ran for 81.
Okay, that was going to be my next question, is how did he run against Philadelphia?
81 yards the last time.
Yeah, see, that's pretty impressive. I would be fine with that, too. I wouldn't hate that.
We can change it if that's what you want to do. It's not locked in yet, Matt.
Then don't listen to me, because you don't need to listen to me when it comes.
No, I mean, listen, I'm telling you, he's going to have to throw that yardage. It's going to have to happen.
It's going to have to go over 225.5.
They're not going to be running the ball successfully. They're going to be throwing it, and sure, he's going to be running.
That's fair. Okay. Madcraft, you're locked in. Madcraft is locked in.
He's locked in.
Let's see here. Mike Main says, go with the higher for Kelsey. Well, Mike Main, there's like 30 categories that you could pick for Kelsey. So I need some more specificity.
I think he's talking about the amount of times they'll show Taylor Swift on the TV broadcast.
Yeah, Mike.
Right?
So Mike, here's what I need you to do. I need you to call in. This is hard to do over text line, okay? I need you to call in and be an active part of this conversation. How about that? Can you call in 844-FAN phone? I'm on Travis Kelce's card right now. I'm seeing him his receiving yards, higher lower, set at 69.5. Rushing and receiving touchdowns, set at half. That's easy. You just got to get one. Higher, lower, 6.5 receptions. That's what I would go with if I was going with Travis Kelce. I'd go with Travis. He's going to get the ball a lot in this game, right? It's an NFC Championship game.
You would think
he's going to get the ball a lot.
He would need to.
Yeah.
Tolo Steve says, Diesel, you better check the weather conditions in Philly while you're making the picks. That comes from Tolo Steve. It's going to be cold, Steve. It'll be cold. That's the weather conditions. I don't know. I mean, it matters, but it's going to be cold for both teams.
Okay, so again, I need you here, Mike Main, 844-FAN phone. You can go as simple as game high on receiving yards. Will he have more receiving yards than anybody else in this game? We could go that way. We could go, let's see, first half receiving yards, first half receptions, the number of targets. You know, there's a lot of different ways that we could play this. He says, go with the higher on Kelsey. So need you. Any other Tolos want to jump in and play? 844-326-3663. There is a round of beers on the line. Cole, we got one. We got two on the line. So let's see who we got who wants to help build the ultimate Tolo pick for this weekend's NFL championship round.
Brian's up first.
Brian, you ready to play, sir?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, so let's see. Mike Main, I think, has already called Travis Kelce on this. So let's see. I'm going to give you. How about this? Do you want a receiver from Philadelphia or one from Washington?
Do one from Washington.
Okay, let's go with Austin Eckler. How about Austin Eckler?
That'd be fun.
Let's see. Options are, I'm going to give you three options. These are the 1, 2, and 3 options. Receptions at 2.5, rushing and receiving yards combined at 45.5, and rushing yards at 19.5. Which category do you like?
I'm going to go with the rushing.
Okay.
The last one.
The rushing yards, 19.5. Do you think we should go higher or lower with Austin Eckler on this?
What was his last week's? Because I'm not on a computer. What was the last week's he did?
47 yards.
I think he'll go. Let's see. I had him last year when he was doing pretty good, and I didn't get him this year in the fantasy league, and I didn't know if he did actually good or not. But I'm going to say he's going to probably be lower.
On the rushing yards, you said?
On the rushing yards, yes.
Lower than 19.5 rushing yards.
Well, let's go higher. My bad.
Okay.
Let's go higher then. Let's go higher.
We're going higher. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to write these down as we're doing them live. Can you give me your name again?
Brian Pettit.
Brian Pettit. He's going.
Tiger Strikes Media.
Gotcha. All right, we got Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
The one I met y'all with.
That's right.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Scotty from BMW is in on this. And I know Scotty plays Underdog
What's
Fantasy
up, y'all?
as well. What's up, buddy? Let's see here.
Great weekend last weekend.
You did. So did I. We hit real well
Jahmyr
together.
Gibbs was the king.
Do you want to go? Can I give you Jalen Hurts? Can I interest you in Jalen Hurts?
What's the name?
Oh yeah, I'll take him. He's a good player to roll dice on.
Okay, Jalen Hurts. Do you want passing yards? Do you want rushing yards? Do you want a combination of passing and rushing yards?
What's his combination numbers?
Combination is 216.5.
Oh, we'll definitely take that. Washington that sounds really good there.
Okay, do you want to go higher or lower than 216.5?
I say we go under because I think they're just going to feed Barkley the ball and let's let him go beast mode like Jahmyr Gibbs went.
Hey, if that weather is cold up there, like Texter said, you might be right.
Could be.
Oh, I'm definitely down with that. The weather's cold, and plus, Jahmyr Gibbs had a field day on Washington this weekend.
There you go, Scotty from BMW. Appreciate you. We got you locked in for Jalen Hurts. The leprechaun of Lyman is in the game. How are you, bud?
I'm doing good, man. All right. Well, are you dishing out players?
Yeah, I'm dishing out players. Options here for you. How about wide receiver A.J. Brown from the Philadelphia Eagles?
All right. How about yards in the game for him?
Receiving yards, higher, lower than 59.5.
Ooh, I'm actually going to go with lower.
Lower.
All right. Yep. All right, going lower than 59.5. So now we've got 5 players who are in the mix here.
Thanks, Leprechaun.
Leprechaun of Lyman. Appreciate you. Thank you much. All right, we're going to take a short break here, see if we can fill out the rest of this pick. We need 3 more to go. Callers, you can call in while you're off the air and get your picks in. We're building an 8-leg pick for the NFL championship round.
we got about 60 seconds until the top of the hour, until we have to run. Diesel, you got your picks in?
We got one more to go.
Need one more, Tolo.
We need one more.
One more Tolo. That's all we need. While we get that Tolo, I wanna encourage you Tolos on something here. If you're ever, this audio is fantastic, by the way. If you're ever elected mayor of your city, and you're ever in a big sports market, like Philadelphia, who is playing in the NFC Championship this weekend, a piece of advice that I'd give you is make sure you know how to spell the name of your team. Have you heard this from the mayor of Philadelphia yet? This is great audio.
Let me hear you all say E-L-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
That's a great chant. The only problem is, Diesel, guess what? Let's one more time.
Let me hear you all say
Okay, they got the E. Okay, that's the first letter right. L. That's L. G. Okay, getting back on track. S-E-S. That would spell Egleses instead of E-A-G-L-E-S.
Let me hear you all say E-L-G-L-E-S,
Eagles, Egles. Let's go, Birds. Try to spell Birds.
Oh, my God. Impeach her right now.
How do you not spell
Fired.
Eagles? E-A-G-L-E-S. Instead, E-G-L-S-E. I mean, that was bad. That was bad. You got to know how to spell Eagle.
Womp,
Eagles.
womp.
Diesel, Eagles is not a hard word to spell.
When we come back, Cole, yesterday we had a fantastic conversation with the brand new football coach of the Gaffney Indians, Donnie Littlejohn. If you missed it, what a great call, man. This guy, I think he's got big things in his future. We're going to hear that next, right here on The Fan, Upstate. Bryson. We're going to play that interview for you next,
We'll have it next
with the brand new head coach of the Gaffney Indians, Dennis Littlejohn. Catching you up, Donnie Littlejohn, catching you up on the Tolo made pick, the 8 stat projection pick. Could net $435, Cole, if we're able to get this thing dead on right with all 8 picks hitting. So here's the card put together by the Tolos. Cole Bryson took Saquon Barkley higher than half a touchdown.
I like that.
That feels like a lock, right? It feels like it should be an easy one.
You'd think so.
Feels like it should be. Madcraft has Jaden Daniels, quarterback of the Washington Commanders, going higher than 224.5 passing yards. Brian Pettit has Austin Eckler higher than 19.5 rushing yards. Scotty from BMW is going with Jalen Hurts lower than 216.5 passing and rushing yards combined. That might be a sticking point, but we'll see. Scotty from BMW is very good at playing this. Leprechaun of Lyman's got A.J. Brown lower than 59.5 receiving yards. Mike Main is going with Travis Kelce higher than 6.5 receptions. I have added Josh Allen lower than 231.5 passing yards. And Frank Wagner gets in with Dallas Goedert higher than 3.5 receptions.
Dallas Goedert.
Excuse me. Said it wrong.
I believe. Now, how many different legs is that?
That's 8.
That's tough, man.
It's tough, but here's the fun part, Cole. We're playing this on Flex.
Yeah.
So we don't have to get all of them right. We can miss as many as 2.
Okay.
And I lose like $1.10.
Sure.
But still, getting 6 out of 8 correct would be huge. If we get 7 out of 8 correct, we get $22. But if we get 8 out of 8 correct with a $10 entry, $435.
Not bad. Not bad. You'd be spending some money. Going to get into the NFL games this weekend. Our first look at the conference championships. Again, Diesel said we'll talk a little high school football with the new coach in the area in the next segment. Jersey Joe wants to weigh in on the conversation, which you can do at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. What's up, Jersey Joe?
Good evening, gentlemen. How we doing tonight?
Joey, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. Hey, I heard you guys talking about all these little bets going on. What about penalties for Patrick Mahomes? How many
well, are we going to count?
Like it.
Are we going to count flops? Do those count, or how are we doing?
He doesn't need a flop. He just gets the calls. Jersey Joe, I'd say bad calls on Patrick Mahomes. It'll be at least 3, right?
I'm gonna. Let's go 4. Let's go 4.
It's ridiculous, man. We talked about it yesterday, but it's just hard to watch because you want to pull for the guy. He's one of the best ever, but at the same time, come on, give me a break with these calls after call.
Oh, it's just ridiculous the way he gets treated.
Preferential treatment, Jersey Joe.
That's exactly.
But he makes the league money, Joe. So what are they going to do? They're not going to stop doing this.
Well, I just say forget about it.
Forget about it, Jersey Joe. He's the man.
Thank you, Joe.
844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Our first look, Diesel. We were off Monday, Tuesday. We didn't get much into it yesterday, but our first look at the the championship games, the conference championship games this weekend. No Saturday games this weekend. Unfortunately, Sunday football, 2 games on Sunday as we have the winner advancing to the Super Bowl, Commanders, Eagles, and Bills, Chiefs. Let's start with the 3 o'clock time slot. Washington, a team, Diesel, that had no business being where they are in 2025. Well, why do they have no business? Well, they have new ownership, new general manager. Ownership that people really don't know if they'll be able to get to a Super Bowl with, right? Kind of some question marks. Magic Johnson, those guys. New coach, Dan Quinn comes in first year. New rookie quarterback. no way in the world that this team will be able to get to the Super Bowl. Yeah, look, they had a good season. No, they did. They or a game away, rather. Washington, Diesel, is a great story, 12-5. However, they're going up against a really good Philadelphia team, 14-3, 18-1 at home. This game's, again, at Philadelphia, at Lincoln Financial. I think that the Eagles win this game on Sunday. However, what I've learned is it's hard to bet against Washington in 2024 and 2025.
Yeah, I think there's just some sort of magical element going on with Washington. Maybe it's because these fans have had to endure crap for as long as they have. They've endured bad play. They've endured bad coaching. They've endured bad ownership. From the top down, this franchise was kind of snake bit for a long time. And something tells me if there is a God looking down on this, he's going to say, you know what? Commanders fans, you even had to change the name of your team. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and boop, touch you. And y'all are going to be, y'all are going to have a great season. So I get the feeling there's something special and magical going on here.
I know.
And I can't bet against Jaden Daniels because he's a monster.
It's weird to say because you would think that the Philadelphia Eagles, Diesel, they're the favorite in this game. They should win the game. But then again, it's weird to say betting against Jaden Daniels as a rookie is hard to do. But I think I'm with you. I think he's proven enough this season to say, wow, Jaden Daniels is him. The
moments are not too big for him.
And that's why I think we have to be careful not to lump everybody, all the rookies into one category when people say things like, oh, rookies should never play. Rookies should never play their rookie season because they need time. They need to sit for 3 or 4 years. They need to learn how to be a quarterback. Well, Jaden Daniels stepped in immediately and said, I'll show you how to be a quarterback. I'll take you to the NFC Championship game. So, look, some quarterbacks are ready. Some are not ready. Washington's Jaden Daniels, will he take a step back? Maybe teams figure him out. Who knows? But, boy, what he's doing, it's fun to watch. Philadelphia Diesel's favored by 6. You were talking about betting earlier on Saquon Barkley, though. That's the player you gave me. I think ultimately in this game on Sunday, the reason that Philadelphia does win is you've got a running back that's gone for over 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns. I think the running game is going to be the difference maker. Washington Commanders have weapons. They have dudes, there's no doubt. But if you can run the ball and play good defense in the playoffs, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be just fine. But how many times have I said this, Diesel? It's going to come down to who makes less mistakes on Sunday. Do you trust Jalen Hurts so much more than you do Jaden Daniels? I think Jalen Hurts is good, but I don't know that I trust him a lot more.
So looking at the weather for Sunday in Philadelphia, 39 degrees
which is not
for
bad.
The high.
Not bad.
25 for the low.
Okay.
That's not awful weather.
Could be worse.
That's not awful conditions. As a matter of fact, it's going to warm up in D.C., and that's going to be the first warm day. I mean, Monday, it's going to be 40 degrees. But Sunday, I mean, you got to think, depending on what time weather moves in, they're calling for a possibility of snow. Maybe we'll see a light dusting. Maybe we'll see something a little bit heavier. The humidity is not going to be super, super high. So, it may be kind of a drier snow. It's going to be fun to watch, man. I love watching snow games. I love watching how the elements affect these guys playing. But Jaden Daniels has shown the ability to kind of rise above bad conditions and crowd noise and get big wins on the road.
What's interesting is when you look at these two matchups, Washington lost the first time they played against the Eagles. The Eagles won the first game. Eagles lost the second game. If I had that mixed up, I'm sorry. Washington lost the first one but won the second one. They played twice because they were division rivals. What's interesting is, Diesel, from a Jaden Daniels standpoint with Washington, he was not a threat with his legs in the very first matchup earlier this season. And I can't remember exactly. Let's see. That game was – I have it pulled up here. That game was in November. So November the 14th, the Eagles won 26-18. Jaden Daniels, not a threat with his legs, 18 yards on the ground. They lost the game. It was a close game. Fast forward a month later to December 22nd. The Washington Commanders won the game. That was part of their 5-game winning streak. They won 36-33. What was the difference in that game with Jaden Daniels on his leg, with his legs, rather? 9 carries for 81 yards. He broke off a 29-yarder. So Jaden Daniels, the second time they played Philadelphia, he was the X factor. He was able to move the ball, and when you can rush for 81 yards as a quarterback, you're going to keep your defense honest. So I think that's the biggest game plan, the biggest area of the game plan, rather, that I look at on Sunday's game. For Sunday's game, I'd say, look, Jaden Daniels has to be involved with his legs. He's got to be able to extend drives when the pocket breaks down, and the secondary for Philadelphia, which is a good secondary, when they've got him covered up, he's got to be able to go make Superman-like plays on Sunday.
Well, they know Philadelphia knows they cannot send the house every single play. They can't rush linebackers on him, because if they do that, they're going to leave their DBs out there on an island, and Jaden Daniels can throw the ball all over the field. Now, if they also hang those linebackers back in coverage, then Jaden Daniels can run all over them with his legs. So he is a very dangerous player. I mean, Cole, I think Jaden Daniels will ultimately go down as a better pro than Lamar Jackson. I mean, is that too bold? I understand that it's just one.
Yeah, I think it's too bold.
I know it's just one season, but I mean, come on. I would put money on Jaden Daniels winning a Super Bowl before his career is over, and not Lamar.
Gosh, that's tough, man. I like both of them. I'm a big Lamar guy. I think Lamar Jackson's a fantastic quarterback. He just, for whatever reason, has not been able to get over the hump. And getting over the hump is so much easier said than done. It's difficult in the NFL playoffs. But I tell you what, it's also impressive for a guy like Jaden Daniels to have won 2 playoff games in his rookie season.
Yeah.
There are a lot of quarterbacks in the history of the game who cannot say that they've won 2 playoff games. So that'll be a lot of fun. Sunday at 3. Also Sunday, 6:30, Diesel, the Super Bowl, maybe, the game, the 2 best teams. Kansas City's at home. They're favored by 2 over Buffalo. We know what we have learned is Buffalo wins in the regular season, but when these 2 teams meet in the playoffs, it's a different story. And I believe that this game, even though that Patrick Mahomes is going to get 3 or 4 calls like we talked about, I believe Josh Allen, I think this is his time. I think the game Sunday is going to be where he elevates himself, Diesel, to the pedestal of, hey, I'm no longer just a really good quarterback. I'm capable of leading my team to a Super Bowl. Oh, by the way, we lost 2 of our top producing wide receivers to free agency in the offseason. It doesn't matter. I'll carry us. We're underdogs. I think Josh Allen gets it done on Sunday.
Well, Josh Allen wasn't all that impressive against Baltimore, though. I mean, he only threw for 127 yards in that game. He didn't exactly carry the team. He had a lot of help around him. So I'm not as sold on Josh Allen. As a matter of fact, that's why I took him going under the passing yards that were offered on our Tolo group pick there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that blown away by Josh Allen. So it's going to be, it's going to be speed versus speed with Buffalo versus Kansas City. And for whatever reason, these Bills are snake bit, can't get past Kansas City, especially when they're playing on the road in KC every time.
Yeah.
And, of course, they got the referee. Do we know if the referee that keeps calling all the playoff games
There's no way.
is calling this game? There's no way, right?
How would he? Is he going to get assigned? Is he just the Chiefs referee now? The Bills, by the way, are 2-4 against the Chiefs in the playoffs all time. 2-4 all time. Postseason with Josh Allen, 0-3. 2021, it was a 38-24 win for Kansas City. 2022, the divisional round, it was a 42-36 win for Kansas City. Guess what? That was the game where the coin toss went the wrong way in overtime. And then 2024, divisional round, almost a year ago, or just over a year ago, rather, a 27-24 win for Kansas City in the divisional round. So 2 divisional round losses for the Bills in the postseason against the Chiefs. And then back in 2021, it was the 2020 season. the AFC Championship game where it was 38-24. So to your point, they can't beat the Chiefs when it matters. They can't, for whatever reason. They can in the regular season. They beat them this year. It was a good game. Josh Allen played really well against the Chiefs. But guess what? For whatever reason, he has been snake bit come postseason. I think that turns. I do. I think the Bills win. Are you going Chiefs here, early lean?
Yeah, I'm going Chiefs just because the NFL doesn't want the Chiefs out of the Super Bowl.
I just think we're to the point where the fans are fatigued. I think the NFL fans, football fans, they want to see the Bills. I think they want to see Buffalo. I am going to predict Buffalo in the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think you're going to have the Bills and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Those will be your two teams, Diesel. The Eagles defeat the Commanders and the Bills defeat the Chiefs. Josh Allen versus Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl again. We've seen him not be able to get it done on that stage. Can he get it done this year? He has a really good running back. But I think this weekend of NFL football is going to be a lot of fun, man. So we will see. But you mentioned it, Diesel. We will get back into the conversation we had yesterday. If you missed it, Donnie Littlejohn was named the new football coach at Gaffney High School. We were cut short yesterday due to Furman basketball. So in case you missed that interview, we'll have that for you next right here on the Fan Upstate. want to bring in our first guest of the show. He is the new head football coach at Gaffney High School, Coach Donnie Littlejohn. Coach, what does that sound of hearing that you are the new head coach at Gaffney High School? What's that hearing that out loud? What's that do to you, Coach?
Well, it's very humbling. I'm very appreciative. I'm glad to be living my dream. So it's very humbling.
Coach, absolutely appreciate your time. Appreciate you hopping on with us. We sat at this Ingles back during high school football season and talked about, one of the most prestigious jobs, if not the most prestigious job in Gaffney High School football, being open with Dan Jones, obviously announcing his retirement. When you looked at your time at Gaffney as an OC, obviously you played there, played at Furman, with the likes of Billy Napier, and you wanted to go back and coach at Gaffney. At what point in your mind, if you can remember, at what point in your mind did you first think, I want to be the next head football coach at Gaffney High School?
Well, throughout this process, it was real stressful. And so just in talking with some of my family members, in one of those moments where, you get real frustrated, I was quickly reminded that apparently this is something I wanted my entire life. He told me, he's an older cousin. He was like, "Bo, you was made for this. You used to draw plays and get on our nerves. You can do this. This is something you can accomplish. Go do it."
Donnie Littlejohn, new head football coach at Gaffney High School. Donnie, obviously the expectations there at Gaffney are just massive. Talk about your desire to really attack those expectations and how you anticipate handling that kind of pressure.
Well, one thing is I played here, so I have that perspective. I've coached here. I have that perspective. I've called plays, and I don't know if you realize, but calling plays in Gaffney, it can be a little stressful. I mean, some people have opinions, so and they're real subtle with their opinions. So I've endured that, and so I don't expect it to be any different. The expectation is what makes this place a great place to be. Some of the other coaches have come in from other places, and when I get down or got frustrated in the past or questioned things, they reminded me that the expectations wasn't like this everywhere else. And so you can either be grateful for it or you can complain about it. And they chose to be grateful for it at the time, and so I chose to follow their suit. I'm excited about it. I don't think the expectations are going to be a whole lot more. And if they do, I guess I'm going to have to get a therapist or, maybe some more medicine or something. But we're gonna get through it.
Coach, talk about the interview process for you, because, we heard that there were over 40 applicants for the job. Everyone knew that Dan Jones was retiring at the end of the last season in 2024. You said it. You played there. You coached there. However, Gaffney High School, with it being the most prestigious job, arguably in the state, you probably had an idea that there were going to be some big names apply for it. Did you ever, throughout the interview process, feel good about the job actually being yours?
To be completely honest, I did not. I knew that this place, with the expectations and all eyes being on Gaffney, and one of the things is, if you're from Gaffney, it can be an issue, but if you're from Gaffney, it also can be a blessing and something great. But it just depends on who's looking at it. I knew that nothing would be given to me, and that I would have to earn it and go through the process just like everybody else did. And that's fair. The football selection committee, the school board of trustees, the administration in Cherokee County, they wanted to make sure they was giving Gaffney High School the best. And as a resident and as a former player and, an employee coach, I want that for this program too. I'm happy and humbled that they felt like that I was the person to take that next step.
Coach, can you talk about the identity that you expect to build there at Gaffney? I know obviously you've been around there for quite a while. You've called plays there for a while. What does a Donnie Littlejohn-led team look like?
Well, I would be a fool if I felt like that there has been a problem here. I mean, I'm following the most winningest coach in program history, the most tenured coach in program history. I worked with three amazing coaches in the last three. All three of these coaches have won championships, So, I'm not that arrogant to think that, I'm coming in to rebuild something or mold something or whatever. But I can tell you this, my promise is that I'm always going to do right, and I'm always going to make the best decision that's, that benefits these kids, my coaches, this community, and the school. And what I am going to do is I'm going to give my very best. So I'm going to require my best from every coach, every player. And if that's not what they want to do, then maybe they need to do something else, because I plan on sticking around.
Donnie Littlejohn, the new head football coach of the Gaffney Football Indians, joining us right here on the Fan Upstate, 97.1 Spartanburg, 97.7 Greenville, and on the free Odyssey app. Coach, I asked you a few moments ago about the moment in time where you thought you wanted to be a head coach. Throughout the process of being an assistant, are there times that you as an assistant coach, whether it's writing something down on a note card or mental notes, do you take notes along the way of what you would want your program to look like if you ever got that opportunity?
Absolutely. One thing about Gaffney and its assistants is we're very opinionated. And it's different when you're not sitting in the chair. And, one day, and it's just a small story. One day, me and one of the coaches were in Coach Strickland's office complaining about something, because, we complained about everything at that time. And he quickly told us, hey, when you're on this side of the table, you'll look at things different. When you have to make the decision, and when you're accountable for the decision, you'll look at things a little different. So I've always kept that in the back of my mind, and just make sure that you're making decisions not based on anger, not being hasty. Make sure you try to see the bigger picture, because some of these decisions affect people. And in my opinion, kids and players and students, or even coaches, when it's their lives and their dreams, you got to make sure you're doing what's best and you're making the right decision. And that's just some of the things that I kind of wrote down or think about. And it's every decision, There's some decisions that are going to be made about this program, and, and it's, what are they going to eat after weight training, and, what uniform are we going to wear, and just stuff like that matters here. And so just make sure you're making every decision that's for the best interest of the kids and for the coaches and players in the community. I hope that I've been a servant leader, and I want to continue to be a servant leader.
Coach, can you talk about the balance between building relationships with your players versus building relationships with the community of Gaffney? Because, obviously that team means an awful lot to the Gaffney community. Can you go into that just a little bit?
Absolutely. One of the things that's special about this is our players are our community. This community sends us what I consider their best. Whether what we think, the kids come from this community, and I was a part of this community, so I get that. You have to treat them with respect. You have to do your very best. Make sure you're doing what's in the best interest of everybody involved. And, I would be a fool to think that we, myself included, and coaches, can do this by ourselves. We need the help of the community. We need the support of the community. And, I think Gaffney High School and Gaffney football has the best fan base ever. Now, they're opinionated, but I think they're the best. So You get what you get.
Coach, do you feel like that the best – you talked about following in the footsteps of Dan Jones, the winningest coach ever at Gaffney. Do you feel like the best days of Gaffney football under your leadership are ahead of the program? And if so, why?
Absolutely. But I don't think it's under my leadership. I'm just the guy that's in the position and been given the opportunity, have had people show faith that I can do it. I really believe that whoever it is, because of this community, because of the type of athletes that come through, I really feel like anybody could do it. I just hope that I can live up to the expectations and continue to grow this program and take this program to the next level, and just continue to mentor guys, because we do realize that football is more about life lessons and teaching people how to be successful on the field, but also teaching them how to be successful in life. And I think that's a charge and something that we need to do and we're required to do.
Coach, one of the biggest hallmarks of almost anybody that gets hired into the coaching profession these days is adaptability, your ability to change, how you approach individual players, how you approach individual situations to sort of maximize that benefit. What's really prepared you to be adaptable with the types of players that you have on your roster and just being a head coach?
Well, one of the most important things is I used to be one of those players. I think like they thought at that time, or I've actually been in their shoes. I'm not somebody that came from somewhere else, and it was this way there and it's this way here. No, I've been in this way, and I know the expectations, and I understand that when you're not doing very well, that everybody in the community is upset with you. I understand that, when you're not having a good season or you're not playing to the best of your ability, that it's hard to go to grandma's house because, grandpa and uncle and your dad and your cousins, they came through this program and they left you a legacy that they expect you to live up to. So I understand that. So I understand the pressure these kids have. But I also understand the passion that these coaches have. And I understand that this isn't a typical 9-to-5 job. This is a lifestyle. These coaches take it home with them. They don't turn it off. They don't take their phone and put it on their desk and pick it up tomorrow at 9 o'clock and continue. No, we're there for our players 24/7. I understand that part of it. And so I know that everybody's going to be passionate. Everybody's going to give their very best. Or if they're not, we're going to have to find something else for them to do.
Coach, let's talk X's and O's. My last question for you. You were the OC. What does that look like now as you are now the head coach? And then obviously on the defense side of the football, what do you plan to do there as well?
Well, this is a prestigious job, and there's some expectations from the community. So I feel like if I had to earn the position, I think other people should have to earn the position too. I think that's only fair. We have some very, very, very talented coaches on this staff. And so, of course, I'm going to look in the house first and make sure, and try to figure out if I feel like we have somebody that can step up and do what needs to be done. And just because they may not be ready now doesn't mean they're not going to be ready in the future. So you always got to look at that too and try to put together a plan where you're growing the program and also growing the men that are part of this program. Again, I said these coaches are special and they care about this place, and I understand that. But I also understand the pressure that goes along with it, and I would never want to put somebody in a situation that I don't feel like they're ready for. I think I owe them that obligation, and I owe them that doesn't happen. So in the interview process, I said that we were going to, open it up and see, and whatever happens, happens. And the question was, do you plan on calling plays? I do not want to call plays. I've done that for 14 years, and if I can find somebody else to do it, I'll be more than happy to give it up. But I'm always going to put everybody in the right situation.
Coach, that's going to be interesting to watch. How able you are to let go of those play calling duties, especially when you were as successful as you were, to have somebody else calling it. I just want to know, Coach, who was the first person you called to let them know that you had gotten the job, and who was the second person you called?
It was my wife who was the first person, because if I didn't call her, she would be upset. And we kind of got – it was a different situation last night. We kind of got called to the district office. So I was in transit as everything was going on. And when I got there, a lot of my family members were already there. So I guess my family that was there would be the second people that knew.
Well, Donnie, congratulations. You deserved it. You earned it. We appreciate your time. And, we'll be talking to you a lot during football season, especially on the Saturday morning scramble. And we appreciate your time and look forward to the best of the future for Gaffney football.
Thank you so much, Cole. Y'all have a great day.
Cole, yesterday on the show, you called my food tastes bougie.
Bougie.
Because I like Belgian waffles over pancakes. And the Belgian waffle is just flat out better, right? I mean, they've only been doing it over there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and we think, we show up, we just pour a little batter in a pan, let it fry up. That's good. I mean, trust me, I love pancakes. Don't get me wrong. But Belgian waffles just flat out better. It is. It is. I mean, where do you go more often? IHOP or Waffle House?
I go to Waffle House more often because of the All-Star Special.
Right, but do you always get a waffle?
I'd say 50% of the time. 50% of the time.
Well, if you get an All-Star, you automatically get a waffle.
Yeah, but I don't always order the All-Star. I'm big on the pork chop dinner, 2 pork chops, hash browns from the old WoHo.
I don't think I've ever ordered anything that was not breakfast at Waffle House.
If you hadn't had the hash brown bowls, you're missing out.
And see, that's where
not a sponsor, by the way, but need to be.
That's where I want this. That's where I want this conversation to go. Yep. Okay. A new study, Cole, shows via surveying people who order pizzas online, says that the average pizza eater has not changed their pizza order in any way, shape, or form in the last 2 years, which means over the past 2 years, and I don't know how often, most people order pizza. For some people, it's a once a week thing, maybe every other week, once a month, whatever it may be. They have not changed their pizza order once in the last year. And it's because people are creatures of habit when it comes to their food, right? You like what you like. You find something on the menu that you're into and you don't change it, right?
No, I believe that 2 years.
So I just wonder, Cole, like when you go to a restaurant, you find a restaurant that you like, whatever that restaurant may be, how willing are you to, over time, attempt to try most of everything on the menu? And like some restaurants are different. You got those places that have like 100 items, and that's difficult to make happen.
Yeah, I tell you what, I have a restaurant that I eat at a lot. I do this. I eat the same thing. I've been trying lately to be better at that, at ordering variety, not getting the same time. Now, look, I know what I like, and especially like, for example, I love chicken wings, and there's one place that I go to, and that's all I get. They have like 1 million items on the menu, but I've never tried them. So
let me guess, they have burgers, they have chicken sandwiches,
tacos, everything.
What? So don't you love tacos too?
Yeah,
though?
But it's not Taco Bell.
So you're like, you've fallen victim to. It's the first thing you had when you went there.
It's so good,
and you liked it. So you've never tried anything else on the menu. No. Don't you think that's disrespectful to the chef?
No,
to the person who designed the menu?
No,
man.
Too big.
I love. First of all, I don't trust a restaurant that's got 50 things on the menu. If you got that many things on the menu, you don't do any of them well. Like, I want to go to a place that's got like tops 10 items on the menu.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
Good luck finding one of those
That
nowadays.
means you do great at those 10 things. And like, you can combine them and make more menu items out of it. But I'm just saying, like, I love to try to work my way all over the menu.
But I do order the same pizza if it's for me. If it's my pizza, it's the same order. Probably has been for the last 5 years.
And what is your pizza order?
Mushroom and onion.
That's it?
That's it.
You don't eat no sausage, pepperoni,
mushroom and onion. That's
no
it,
bacon,
baby.
No Canadian bacon. God, dude. I want like 5 animals to have had to die for me to eat my
I like
pizza.
the animals dying, but I also like, I don't know, man. I think I could eat mushrooms with a little crust on them and call it pizza. I love mushrooms. Oh my God.
I love mushrooms too.
Love them.
Some people won't touch them.
Well,
some people won't touch
crazy.
them.
I love shrooms.
Dan B says veggie pizza ain't pizza.
That's true.
Cauliflower pizza isn't pizza.
That's true.
Dan B's got some strong opinions.
He's right though.
Have you stocked up, by the way, Dan? Have you?
Oh, he meant veggie pizza as in what I eat?
Yeah. He says that's not pizza.
Oh, Dan B, it is.
I'm a meat lovers guy. I don't want to screw it up with too many veggies. And I love bell peppers. I love onions. I love mushrooms. I love all the things that go, like, the dehydrated tomatoes. I love all that stuff on there. Scotty from BMW says, good example. Chinese spot at the Gaffney Outlet Mall food court. Only did about 10 or so items, but everything was spot on. When I see a menu full of items, it's a big red flag.
I don't know. There's one place that I go to a lot in Boiling Springs. I'm not going to name it because they're not a sponsor. They should be, but they're not. They, they choose to spend their money other places. They have a huge menu. I was there yesterday. They have a huge, huge menu. And that's one of the places I always get the same thing. But I don't know, man. A lot of times, like with this huge menu thing, half everything's frozen anyway. So all you're doing is dropping it in the fryer. That's the sad reality.
Well, you need to step up the kind of restaurants that you go to. Dan B says cauliflower pizza. It's got to have at least 2 meats on it minimum. I just wonder, would Dan B eat a meat lover's pizza on a cauliflower crust? I know that's antithetical to the whole point of like a vegan pizza or whatever, but like, would you?
I don't know. That's a good question. Let's go to the phones. We have about a minute and a half remaining. Dale wants to chime in. Hadn't heard from Dale in a long time. Dale, what's up, man?
Man, whoever texted about the Chinese place at the Yellow Mall in Gaffney is spot on.
Scotty. Yeah.
Spot on.
True.
That place can do no wrong. As far as the pizza's concerned, I think 3 animals and 2 veggies, and that's the perfect pizza.
3 animals. God,
3 animals.
Have any crust on there? You have any cheese? You have room for any sauce?
So that's the 4th animal product.
I mean, that's the base. You got to have the meat and offset that a little bit with the veggies. But, I mean, outside of that, and now my pizza orders change almost every freaking time I order a pizza.
Oh, do they really? So you like to spice it up a little bit?
Well, yeah, because a lot of it depends on what the missus is feeling like. When they've got babies growing in their tummies, that changes everything.
I for whatever reason, when you answered the phone, Dale, I have to tell you, I heard your voice, so I recognized you. However, I've been on the Landman kick lately, watching Landman. So when you said Dale, I thought Dale from Landman. I thought Dale from Landman was calling in the show.
When I heard Dale, I immediately thought, raise hell, praise Dale.
Well, that's good. I've been watching too much TV lately, I guess.
There's nothing wrong with TV.
And no Cowboys today. No Cowboys talk?
No, because I not like where we're headed as far as the coach is concerned.
Dale, is it okay to put chicken on a pizza?
Okay.
Yeah, if you pair it with banana peppers.
Hey, Brian Schottenheimer, are you kidding me?
Not a fan. Not a fan. Please don't go that way. Please don't go that way. Gary.
Appreciate the call, Dale.
Thanks, Dale.
Oh, awesome.
I'll tell you what. I might be picky on pizza, but I'll eat it pretty much. However, except for pineapple.
I think we're going to the Mexican restaurant in Malden tonight. Yeah. I will not ever eat fish from a Sketch Max place.
I will. I don't mind. I also have a rule when it comes to Mexican. I was telling somebody this over the weekend. I'm not bougie. You know me. I'm from here.
Salt of the
just
earth.
real simple. If a Mexican restaurant charges you for chips, don't go. It's not a Mexican restaurant.
It's true.
It's ridiculous. Charging for chips. Get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow, Tolos.